Alrighty. Hello there, world. This is Dr. Dino here with another stream, along with my lovely co hosts, Mark Reed, Ember,
Yo.
and Beamsy.
Hi, sweeties.
Oh boy. We got a whole lot of fun planned for tonight, and I hope y'all are ready. As I posted before or earlier today, this is a drinking stream, so make sure you have some water, coffee, alcohol, whatever you want to have with you.
Here we go. Yeah.
Ready. For my part, I'm drinking what I call a Spicy Mary. It is a Bloody Mary mix with Fireball, and it's actually pretty good.
It is 8 in the
Very cool,
morning,
very
so
cool.
I'm drinking coffee, but technically it is a drug, so,
That's true.
There you
That's
go.
true. I
It's
have
7
my
p.m.
coffee,
for me.
but I also have my strawberry beer, whatever the hell
Okay.
this is.
I've got ginger beer.
Yeah.
All right. And then before we begin our actual stream, I have a little thing to say about the person we will be watching tonight.
You're affirming your unrequited love.
Alrighty. Tonight,
No.
we are here to have fun and laugh, but I think it's important to know who we're dealing with. See, the man we're talking about tonight is the illustrious Kent Hovind. He's been a very successful public speaker for at least 4 decades now. He's inspired
Is he
people,
though?
he's inspired people, brought light into their lives, and given others purpose. He is also an absolutely horrible person. Kent makes his living as an apologist, misrepresenting science and how it works to scam vulnerable people into giving him money. He pines for donations and shills his products at every opportunity, and has sold some very interesting things. Kenny Boy has distributed poisonous pills, sold sinister seeds, and harassed and harmed hundreds to get his way. Hell, he's even sold, quote unquote, cures for cancer. His bestseller, though, is his own recorded propaganda, which he's spread all over the world. Speaking of spreading things, not only did he promote misinformation when COVID was going on, the man made thousands by proclaiming what a certain demographic of people wanted to hear, that vaccines and medicine are dangerous and unhealthy. Of course, he said this while maintaining a regular schedule of doctor's appointments. Kent has made a career out of conning people and trying to turn them against science. He even claims to have been a high school teacher when all he did was lie to kids in a church. He's dangerous, he's horrible. He's an abusive fraud who, in my opinion, is only in it for the money, which, ironically, got him put in jail for tax evasion for a whole decade. Even his fellow creationists have left him behind. Though to be fair, I guess it's hard to get a good reputation when you try to squeeze money out of a child's death, or seriously defend and aid a pedophile. Hopefully he'll be going back to prison soon, before he can spread much more harm. And in the other corner is Dapper Dino, who is pretty cool. I mean, I guess. And with all that out of the way, let's have some fun ridiculing this horrible bastard as he flails around in one of the most one-sided smackdowns I have ever seen.
Here, here.
Yaha. Okay. Let's go ahead and get the video on screen. Do-do-do-do-do. Alrighty. Can you all see it?
Yep.
All right. And then for a bit of background, for those who don't know, this was a debate held between Kent and Dapper Dino about if birds are dinosaurs, which, go figure, is pretty well accepted by everyone except creationists who have to put their foot in the ground about it for some weird reason.
It is fun actually showing them real fossils and going, which one's a dinosaur and which one's a bird?
Yep.
It's almost as much fun again getting different hominid skulls and going, which one's an ape and which one's human?
Mm.
Yeah, surprise, surprise, it gets really hard to find the dividing line after a few million years.
You'd think God would make it more obvious.
You'd think. Anyway, let us begin. Oh yeah, and that's the Deinonychus in the background. She's pretty.
Timothy, tell us about yourself and your channel, and you go first and tell me why you think birds are dinosaurs.
Absolutely. So I'm Timothy. I go by the Dapper Dinosaur on YouTube. If you search that, and maybe you search creationism or something like that, it'll probably come up. And I am a science enthusiast. I'm not officially a scientist or anything. I haven't published any papers in the field, but I've consulted with paleontologists on this topic, and I've done reading in the primary and secondary literature on it, and so I feel fairly confident. And my channel is mostly focused on the science of paleontology, evolution, and comparative anatomy. Those are the big focuses. So yeah, I guess I will go ahead and pull up my opening. First, let me say what I'm not arguing in arguing that
Is this
birds
on
are
normal
dinosaurs.
speed? We can probably speed it up slightly. Is this on normal speed? Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever you think is fair. I just, yeah.
Well, most of us are going to agree with Dapper is going to be saying.
Sure. And Ken
might
Slow
have one-
talks as slow as crap, so, be prepared for that. You're muted, Dr. Dino, if you're actually saying something. You're actually muted. So
Well,
nobody...
okay, yeah, thanks. That explains why everyone's talking over me. Only professionalism here, folks. Anyway, this is a good time to bring up our drink triggers for the night. There are 4 of them, meaning whenever one of these happens in the video, we gotta take a drink. And once again, please sip, do not chug, or you might die. Our first trigger is whenever either of the debaters gets a fact wrong.
Oh, Jesus.
come
we're
on
we're
now.
already dead,
Oh.
dude.
I'm going to go
Come
into the
on.
box.
That's why we're sipping.
I feel my liver going
What
already.
the hell?
The second is a Kentism. Now, a
I better
Kentism,
go refill my water. Hold on.
Yep.
a Kentism is whenever our dear Kenty boy recites something from his script,
Mm.
or deflects to his script. He has a lot of these.
Mm-hmm. When was this
Third.
video from? I'm just curious for like how
Um,
many things we might expect from him.
I think it was
6 months
3
ago.
or 4 years ago. Something like that. It was
Okay.
pre-pandemic, I'm pretty sure. Our third drink trigger is whenever Dapper says, "I'm not arguing for evolution," because Kent keeps trying to bring back the discussion into evolution. Dapper's just saying, categorically, birds are dinosaurs. And the last one is whenever Kent tries to equate something about non-biological objects, like cars, to biology. For an example, I can use the lug nuts from this truck on this other truck, so they must be related. He does this a lot.
Mm-hmm. I'd
Anyway.
argue that's actually part of his normal script. Because even today he still does that, oh, well, we know Hyundais came from the Hyundai factory. All the
Yep.
Hyundais are related. Common designer.
So that's both incorrect and a Kent Hovindism.
Yep, they
and-
can overlap. And for the first time, we have
I wonder
Dapper
if there's
saying,
any that's
"I'm
going
not
to tick
arguing for
all
evolution."
4. I wonder if something can tick all 4. Like,
Yeah, those might be a gulp. Anyway,
yeah,
first
maybe.
drink, everybody. Bottoms up. All right. And a go.
I'm not arguing that all dinosaurs are birds. Triceratops, Allosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, Stegosaurus are all emphatically not birds. To keep it with birds, you can kind of think of it like this. All ducks are birds, but since many birds are not ducks, not all birds are ducks. The same is true for dinosaurs. Not all of them are birds or even terribly bird-like. Second, I'm not arguing that all birds share a common ancestor either with each other or with animals like Velociraptor or Brachiosaurus. If special creation is true, then God created various organisms inside certain patterns, such as mammal, dinosaur, crustacean, whatever. The creationist is under no obligation to believe that whales, humans, bats, and kangaroos share a common ancestor in order to notice that they are all warm-blooded animals with hair that give milk, have inner ear bones from the embryonic pharyngeal arches, and have a dentary squamosal jaw joint. And any animal with those characteristics is a mammal, whether or not evolution is true. So if God created them separately, he still made them all mammals. In the same way, I will only be arguing that birds are dinosaurs based on their anatomy. And if this is due to common ancestry, then so be it. But if it's also just because God created them that way, then so be it. So why are birds dinosaurs? And
All right, so we have Dapper's position laid out pretty nicely.
Yep.
I like the fact that he's avoiding
and
the
that's a group that
religion.
includes animals like Allosaurus, Dilophosaurus.
Sorry, was someone talk?
Yeah, I like the fact that he's avoiding the aspect of religion.
Yes. Regardless of if they were created or not, they are dinosaurs. Deal with it.
Yeah. Great way to narrow the focus and hammer the topic.
Well, I mean, he tries to do that. We'll see if Kent lets him.
He won't.
Velociraptor, Tyrannosaurus. Well, dinosaurs are archosaurs, and I'm going to start there. Archosaurs are a group of reptiles with certain anatomical features, the biggest of which is one that's actually a characteristic of diapsids, which is almost everything we would call a reptile, like lizards, snakes, the tuatara, all that stuff. It's two skull openings in the back, right here, where I'm circling. And these are for jaw muscle attachments. They're called the temporal fenestrae. So birds still have these recognizable openings, but they've also moved some of the bone between them, so the openings also open to each other, and that's back here in this bird skull. Okay? So another important feature of archosaurs is the antorbital fenestra, which is here and here. That is an opening in front of the eye sockets. Birds retain this feature, as again you can see in this skull. So this opening houses an air sac, a bit like your sinus, which helps reduce the weight of the skull. And interestingly, this air sac is found in birds and in their archosaur cousins, crocodilians, like alligators and crocodiles, even though for crocodilians, they close the opening up as embryos. Okay. So also interesting is that, like all reptiles, bird scales and feathers are composed not of alpha keratin, like mammal hair or fingernails, but beta keratin, which is only found in birds and other reptiles, such as lizards and crocodiles. So, unlike lizards, but like mammals, archosaurs have thecodont teeth. That is, teeth in individual sockets, as opposed to ones that erupt straight from the bone or originate in a groove like those of lizards and snakes. While all living birds lack teeth, some fossil birds, like Hesperornis.
Funnily enough, all of us here are thecodonts as well. It's something shared by basically all amniotes.
Makes sense.
Or Enantiornis have teeth. And I know that Kent
Well, not non-lizard amniotes.
has agreed that some birds were created with teeth, and bird teeth, back when they existed, were thecodont, as in the case of this Bohyornis. So, sorry. Last, we come to a feature on the archosaur femur called the fourth trochanter, which is here. It's a projection of bone where a particular muscle attaches. That is the caudofemoralis longus, a muscle that today is only found in crocodilians and birds, but that was also present in all extinct dinosaurs. This muscle is the main retractor muscle for the femur, so it pulls the leg back, and so it's crucial for the locomotion of archosaurs. So now we can confirm that just based on their anatomy, and this, by the way, is a Critosaurus, which is a kind of duck-billed dinosaur, and this is a turkey vulture femur. So now we have enough anatomical features to confirm the bird archosaurs, which is just a taxonomic grouping like mammal or, I don't know, cetacean like whale. So as a side note, except for the diapsid skull and beta keratin, all of these same reasons are also reasons that we know that dinosaurs are not big lizards, because lizards lack all of these characteristics, both in living and fossil forms. And there are a few others that we know, a few other reasons we know dinosaurs aren't lizards. So birds are archosaurs by virtue of their anatomy, but are they dinosaurs? Well, a dinosaur must have a crocodile reverse, that's this one, ankle joint, between the astragalus and the calcaneum, which are two ankle bones. So these bones must not articulate against each other in any other plane except the sagittal. That's in line with the center point, or sorry, the central line of your body if you were to draw it right down the middle. So, well, birds have this kind of ankle arrangement. So they have this particular feature that's key for dinosaurs. Let's see. Also, dinosaurs have a structure called a synsacrum, where these vertebrae are fused to the sacral arches here. Well, birds have the same thing. In fact, this is a perching bird, and this is a sauropod, like a brachiosaurus.
Hey,
And we have hit Dapper's error, or first error.
Oh, yeah, that's not a Brachiosaurus.
That is not a sauropod.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's all right. Like, it's not a big deal. My thinking is he just got it confused with Chimerosaurus, which is a sauropod.
So that's a
It's
Triceratops.
actually
It's a ceratopsian. Yeah.
Ceratopsian, yeah.
a Chasmosaurus, but not many people know what that one is. So birds are also the only known animals today to have hard-shelled eggs. Other animals, like other reptiles and mammals that lay eggs, have soft, leathery eggshells or no eggshells like frogs. So also, all known dinosaurs, dinosaur eggs at least that we found, show evidence of hard eggshells with these sharp, defined cracks where they're cracked. So lastly, in terms of birds being dinosaurs. Birds have an open acetabulum. That's this little hole here in the hip. In other words, their hip socket is a ring of bone rather than a pocket-like structure like it is in your hip or those of all other animals that aren't dinosaurs. Once again, birds have this open acetabulum, as you can see in this drawing of, I believe it's a duck pelvis, but I would have to double check. So again, their hip is just like that of any other dinosaur in this case. So we already know that birds meet every criterion to be a dinosaur just based on their anatomy. So again, these are reasons that birds are dinosaurs, but also that dinosaurs aren't lizards, since lizards lack all these features as well. Further though, birds are theropods. And like non-bird theropods such as Velociraptor, they have feathers, a wishbone, a radius and ulna that lock together, and a system of air sacs that provide unidirectional respiratory system, and semi-lunate carpal bones. So here we have a Tyrannosaurus wishbone. Here we have several different dinosaur hands, all with a semi-lunate carpal, including one that's actually a bird. And this is a fairly recent discovery, but recently an Allosaurus.
So I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the dinosaur hands here are Deinonychus and Archaeopteryx, because I've seen part of this diagram before.
Uh-huh.
And it really just goes to show you how alike the hands are.
It makes me think of the wishbone thing. Makes me think of a Thanksgiving when I was really, really young. I said to my aunt, why do we use a turkey wishbone for a wishbone when, chickens have wishbones and things? And she said that the bigger the wishbone, the more likely the wish comes true. So that kind of, I'm like, I kind of want a T-Rex wishbone.
T-Rex wishbone. Yeah, good luck in getting that one out of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
An emu is actually bigger than a T-Rex's.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that, but...
Wait, what is bigger, sir?
The wishbone in an emu is actually larger than in a T-Rex.
That explains why they won the
Really?
war.
Huh. Is that because they flail their arms around a lot, or do you know why?
Because of their descendants, the
Their
T-Rexes
ancestors
didn't actually... Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you see that a lot with anatomy. It's really interesting to find.
Skeleton was found that was very well preserved and actually had the same impressions for the air sac system that birds use to facilitate their unidirectional breathing. So the air only comes in one set of pipes and goes out the other set. And this Allosaurus actually had all the same scarring on its skeleton that indicated the same set of anterior air sacs, posterior air sacs, and lung. So, okay. And just in case you think that it's only Archaeopteryx that has feathers, there are actually some 50 or so dinosaur genera for which feathers are absolutely known to have existed based on actual fossil evidence. And it can be inferred that a large number of other very similar genera also had them.
And for the record, that number has gone up by several dozen just since the time of this debate.
I believe it.
When was this debate?
I believe it was 2018 or 2019.
Okay, yeah, a couple of years, all right, a few years. So this is a really good presentation. He's outlining every point really well. It's very succinct. It's very easy to understand. I really do like his job on this.
Yeah, and in case anyone is debating it, definitely check out Dapper's channel. He does a ton of really good, really informative stuff like this.
Often with
You know,
drinking.
Eutyrannosus.
Yes, Eutyranus.
Eutyrannosaurus.
For the record, this thing here could get up to about 30 feet long. So, not all the feathered dinosaurs were small, even.
Yeah, it's important to be careful during once you get out your time machine.
Yeah, I would just not go into the Mesozoic at all, genuinely. As much as I love dinosaurs, you would die.
Yeah, I did a double check that the T-Rex didn't actually have one at all because the fusion of the clavicles hadn't actually occurred in the line of their descendants.
Really?
Yeah.
So was
That's
that a
what the
mistake
papers-
by
I
Dapper?
could have sworn I've heard of it before.
Have a look at the paper. There's only been 2 instances of 2 different species that actually have the start of a fusion occurring.
Oh. I don't know.
curious.
I'm seeing papers saying it had furcula.
but not a wishbone because that has to be fused for you to break it apart, kind of thing, right?
Oh, so it has like
Yeah.
the start of it, but not the full
Yeah.
bone.
Yeah,
Yes.
that explains what we saw in the previous slide. How it had they had like a U shape, almost a V shape kind of thing, but it doesn't actually have that spur that you have to
The
push on in order to.
clavicles
Yeah.
aren't fused.
Maybe like,
But I mean, if
half
you've got
is
some
then, 'cause
partial
it's half
fusion,
right, half wrong.
well, if you've got partial fusion, that's even more evidence for evolution because obviously, like if there's some dinosaurs with no fusion, and then later on in the fossil record there's dinosaurs with partial fusion, and that birds with completely fused clavicles, then that's pretty good
Yeah,
evidence.
I agree. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking Beamsy is right. This is half wrong, so half a sip, I would say.
Well,
Yeah, I put the paper in the private chat if you want to have a read of it. It goes into the aspect of among bird close relatives, non-avian Maniraptors, fulcrum is known only in Oviraptor. And they believe they found one in Velociraptor mongolius.
Ah. I mean, go figure they find it in Velociraptor.
yeah.
But that's what I mean. They don't actually have a wishbone in T-Rex because wrong descendancy.
All right, fair enough. And that said, even though we make fun of T-Rex's arms for being tiny, like these things were jacked. Like you see the shoulder bones here? You don't get those small, or you don't get shoulder bones this big unless you have some serious muscle power going on. Like
They
their
might
arms
be
were buff.
they might be short, but they still had a use.
Actually, the funny thing is, I think they're only a little bit smaller than Tyrannus's arms. So it's like their arms just didn't grow while the entire rest of their body did. Which is just kind of funny.
Based on actual fossil evidence. And it can be inferred that a large number of other very similar genera also had them. And here we have pictured Genuanlong, Caudipteryx, Sinoscalopteryx, Sinornithosaurus, Sinosauropteryx, and Eutyrannus, Eutyrannus being a tyrannosaur, all of which have direct fossil evidence for feathers. Well, we also have Alan Fiducia, who I think Kent may have heard of. I know I've heard you reference him before. And he says that, oh no, these aren't feathers, these are just collagen fibers that have been preserved. Well, we know he's wrong for a few reasons. One is these fossils contain such detailed branching patterns that they are morphologically identical with feathers, but not with collagen. In fact, we can scan them so closely that we now actually know that some of these dinosaurs had iridescent feathers, like a crow or some parrots, so that they would shine in different colors depending on the angle that you look at them. Also, collagen doesn't have melanosomes, but feathers do, and so do the preserved feathers that we've seen in many forms of these feathered dinosaurs. So, in fact, we can scan these preserved feathers so closely that we can tell if the feathers were rufous, which is reddish, browny kind of rust color, or had black melanin. And that's how we know this animal on screen here, the Sinosauropteryx prima, we actually know that that's what color it was based on the melanosomes that we can see with scan.
Yep. I call it the red panda dinosaur.
Yeah, that
Because
works.
the funny thing is, not only does it have the same colors as a red panda, it lives in the same areas that modern red pandas do.
Oh, convergent
I've
evolution,
decided-
you think?
After seeing some red panda, baby red panda videos, I've decided that they are the cutest animal ever.
Oh no, we have another contender.
No,
I still think they look.
Go ahead.
I still think they're more along the ringtail lemurs.
I mean, should we go by adult cuteness or baby cuteness?
I'm not referring to the cuteness. I'm talking about the dinosaur.
Oh, you're thinking
Yeah.
it looks more like a ring-tailed lemur?
Mostly
Kind of.
because of the long tail.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, there's tons of really gorgeous reconstructions of this thing. And for once, Jurassic World got the design of these things right in their game too.
Nice.
Wow.
Like legitimately one of the best models of it I've ever seen in media. And
I've
it's
never
from Jurassic
played
World.
Jurassic World. Yeah, I've never played that.
Look at that little cutie. It's adorable.
Yeah, look at it being eaten by the by that looks like an Allosaurus.
Oh yeah, in contrast, we have the absolute ugliest dinosaur Jurassic World has ever produced. Like, Oh, that
Is
is
that
ugly.
supposed to be a ute? A
That's
Tyrannosaurus?
No, this is a Pyroraptor,
Oh, okay.
which their Uteranus, by contrast, is absolutely gorgeous. Like, again, one of the best reconstructions I've ever seen, and it's from Jurassic World.
They are
Okay.
getting better with it, so that's
Yeah,
At
they
least for
did get a
DLC
lot of
packs.
flack in the last few movies for not doing things right.
Yeah. The funny thing is, they actually kind of backslid. Because, like, the raptors in Jurassic World are less accurate than the ones in Jurassic Park.
Oh, that's terrible.
On the
Yeah.
flip side, though, in Dominion, when one of the characters had to go to some outpost that was up on top of a mountain, so it was super icy and shit, they had a raptor come out who was like all feathered and whatnot. Of course, they
Yeah, that
also
was the
had the
super ugly one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, pluses and minuses, I guess.
Like, the feathers were great, and then it has the most awful face I've ever seen in a dinosaur media.
They can't quite decide if they want to look more, have the critters be more beak-like or have lots of sharp teeth. Which way is more terrifying? So they kind of like half-ass it both ways.
Let me put it to you this way. In, like, when they first started creating it, they put the eye in the wrong hole in the skull.
Oh no.
Yeah, they got the eye in the wrong hole.
It's never a good thing when you wind up in the wrong hole.
With scanning electron microscopes. All right, so what has to be done to refute this point that birds are dinosaurs? It's really simple. All you have to do is either show that birds don't have the anatomy that I've said they do. So find a bird that has a closed acetabulum, or a bird whose astragalus and calcaneum articulate in another plane, or find a bird, just without these characteristics. Or if you can find a bird that has a characteristic that is a important trait for a different taxon outside of Dinosauria, you could also refute it. So, for instance, if you found a bird with a parietal foramen, that's a hole at the top of the skull where the pineal gland is exposed to light that lizards have, that would mean birds aren't dinosaurs. Or if in embryonic development you found a bird where the first little divot that appears when the bird is still just a sphere of cells becomes a mouth, that would prove birds aren't dinosaurs. And in fact, that one would disprove all of evolution. So good luck on that one. That would be a great one.
Yeah.
And
Yep. Just in case people in the chat didn't know, when you were first being formed, one of the first things that formed in your body was your asshole.
And unfortunately, some never develop past that.
That's
True.
right.
Like the other person in this debate.
I believe that's it for my opening. And there's one interesting note. All of the life reconstructions I use in this slideshow, so there's one, there's the other, and Anchiornis is the last one. The reason I picked these is because all of these colors that you see are actually based on the melanosomes found in the preserved feathers. So there is no question that these are collagen fibers. And with that, I will end my opening.
Well, thank you.
Yep. So there is Dapper's segment done. We're 1.5 drinks in and 12 minutes in. You guys seem so scared.
Dapper's not what worries us.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I mean, Dapper's got a good presentation. It's all succinct. It's all very well put together. It's got a mix of information that is, sort of technical and stuff you can sort of understand. So he explains it really well. Always like Dapper's presentations. He's always got really good stuff.
I completely agree.
And I would still just leave it at the 1 because you're talking about obscure information that not many people do know about, even though it's been around for 20 years.
That is fair. I didn't know about it. Like, I've always heard them called wishbones. But
the closest you've got is a sort of a V section, but it's not a true wishbone yet. That's why I put the paper in the private chat so you can have a look at that when it's finished.
so should we just call it a wish?
Not a bone. It's a wish of a bone. But you realize in 20 years, somebody's going to be watching this video and playing a drinking game about all the shit we got wrong because we didn't know it yet.
And that's what I love about science. Yes, please do prove me wrong so we can find out something even cooler.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, now it's time for... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I don't fault Dapper Dino for not knowing that thing about the wishbones. It's an obscure thing.
Maybe we can just call it a pre-wishbone, like it's been pre-wished upon before you get to it.
It's the dream before you actually make the wish.
All right, and now it's time for the other guy.
Thank you, Timothy, for coming on and defending your belief that birds are dinosaurs. I'd like to point out the
And we have our first Kentism.
Kentism.
Thank you for your belief.
Is anyone moderating this, or is this just Kent doing his usual Kent crap?
Just Kent.
Oh, good.
It was on the actual Kent's own channel.
Yeah. Which, I mean, unfortunate, but he wasn't much more awful than he is during moderated debates, so I wonder what that says.
Well, considering who he usually picks for moderators.
Yeah.
obvious to the audience. Nobody has ever seen a bird today produce a non-bird. They look nothing like the dinosaurs.
Here's one.
There's another Kentism.
Would not prove a comment.
Or, well, yeah, sorry, I didn't put the Kentism. That's a Kentism and a wrong.
Has anyone seen a Kent make a non-Kent?
Does Eric count as a non-Kent? I don't think he does.
He
Never
rhymes
have
with
seen
Kent.
it.
Debatable.
Common ancestor, it would prove a common creator. I think
There's another wrong. And I guess I did put the Kentism. Oh, wait, no, that was a proves common designer, so that's a Kentism and a wrong.
Ford two-door trucks and four-door trucks probably have a lot of similarities because they're both
And
built
the
by
Kentism?
Ford. So I think what you're pointing out, Timothy,
Oh,
without
God
realizing
damn
is
it.
evidence for creation. The same
Why
creation.
don't we just
is
drink
the
our
same-
bottle and call it quits?
Keep your
Yeah.
drink handy.
design structure for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, that's what works. I mean, it works really good. Most animals have two eyes. Some are forward facing, some are sideways facing, but two eyes is redundant for in case one gets injured, obviously, but also to get binocular vision. And you get
No!
depth perception that way.
No.
And so that's not evidence of
It's depth perception, you.
You want to count that as a wrong?
Mm-hmm.
evidence of evolution, it's evidence of a designer. I wish you could go back and
And the
re-listen, Timothy,
Kentism.
to everything you just said and look at it from
Motherfucker.
the way most people are going to look at this. Like, this is evidence that the same designer made them. The holes in the skull, the similarities in the pelvic structures, etc. Let me just cover a few thoughts here. Archaeopteryx had all the brain features of a bird equipped for flight. Archaeopteryx means ancient wing, is what the word means. It had claws on the wings, and their argument is that this is evidence it's coming from a creature with claws, like a dinosaur or something like that. Stale added some of the ornithologists call the Hoatzin primitive because of its Archaeopteryx-like claws. The Hoatzin today has claws on its wings. So that's not proof of anything. It's just an
No, it
unusual
doesn't.
bird that has claws on its wing.
Well, the juveniles do. The adults don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they use them for climbing because of the environment that they're in. And the Archaeopteryx actually could fly. If you compare it to a Microraptor, on the other hand, the brain was slightly different because they could only glide.
Well, I think the current consensus on Microraptor was it could fly, but not very well.
Sort of like a chicken.
Yes. It's not even the young that do it, it's their chicks that have claws on two of the wing digits. So, like,
I mean,
it's really
technically, he is
misleading.
correct. The species does have wing claws, at least.
Yes, but it's really misleading because its adult form does not have those claws.
Well, of course
Well-
it's misleading. It's Kent.
I for one, am glad we did not make misleading a category, or we'd need a lot more alcohol.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Also, just realized I was in 720p. Lovely.
Wings. Swans, ibis, and many other birds have wing claws. They just never make use of them that we know of. Here's a Hoatzin, I believe, with the claws on the wings. They will point out that Archaeopteryx had
I'm not sure. And, like, this isn't
Does
a product of the
swans
video.
have
This
claws?
was the original. I don't know.
What did he
I
say
can't-
that was called?
It's a Hoatzin, but he's saying it has wing claws. I can't tell from this picture. because he chose a really crappy low-res picture even
Well, of
in
course
the
he did.
original broadcast.
No, hold it. To go back, he said that swans, ducks, and stuff had claws, but they don't use them. That isn't true. Swans, ibis, and many other birds have wing claws. They just never make use of them. I don't think that's true.
According to an article, they do have a claw on the first digit.
Yeah, I'm looking at a JSTOR
It's a
that
vestigial
has the
claw,
same
but
thing.
it is a claw.
Ducks,
Oh, okay.
geese, swans, vultures, hawks, eagles, and even some perching birds.
Yeah. Emus have them too.
That's interesting because I used to raise ducks and geese and I never frickin' noticed.
Yeah, cassowaries, emus, and ostriches all have a claw, but they don't really count those because they're on a useless arm.
Yeah. Oh, Andrew. Yeah, that's a good point. It's like arguing that a whale couldn't have come from a four-limbed animal because modern dolphins sometimes have fins in their pelvic region. Yeah, good point.
I don't even
Also,
know if he's
I'm
arguing
sorry, Pragmatic Crystal.
right. I don't even know if he's arguing that it's a couldn't have been at this point. He's just stating unrelated facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
But the question is, why do swans and ibises have claws that they don't make any use of whatsoever? Like, isn't that a bad design from a design standpoint? Like, isn't that
I
like
think so.
with your Jeep analogy, Ken? Isn't that like having a Jeep with two small wings that don't do anything on the side? Like, what's the point? That works against design, not for it.
Yeah.
Of them that we know of.
Well, I mean, he might argue that, well, a lot of vehicles have like hood ornaments.
Those have a use, though.
Yeah, they show off. It's a display feature.
Well, it depends on the hood ornament. A lot of them are just for marketing purposes, but the old hood ornaments, like the reason the symbol on the Lincoln looks like a freaking target is because the way they used to teach people to drive was to line up the hood ornament so that your line of sight went right through it like a sight on the white line of the road, and that's how you could tell you were in your lane. And a lot of other ornaments work the same way.
No, it's
I
for rich
never heard of
people when
that.
they're driving their Rolls Royce, they can line up the target with the port
Yes.
and they want to run down. Yeah, that's like,
That's the
Yeah,
Mercedes.
yeah, Mercedes, that's right. Yeah.
Jaguar.
Yeah, no, I definitely hood ornaments are sexual selection. Don't just work that one out for yourself.
Yeah, no. Big Bad Mama, I'm counting the bigger errors mostly, because otherwise we would be dead even if we were all drinking water.
Stuff that is obviously completely untrue rather than just slightly misleading, or else we'd be in trouble.
Yeah, and I won't give away the final count, but by the end of it, it looks like Dapper and Kent are playing completely different games. Shall we say, different scoring systems.
Honestly, it kind of looks that way now.
Well, and there's a turkey vulture with, you can see the wing claws.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Good example.
Here's a Hawatson, I believe, with the claws on the wings. They will point out that Archaeopteryx had teeth in its beak. Well, that's an unusual feature for birds, but there's a hummingbird in Ecuador, South America that has 48 teeth in its mouth.
Have
having
a
teeth.
beak.
No, it doesn't have teeth. They're not teeth.
Crap, you're right. You're right, Archaeopteryx didn't have a beak, and this thing doesn't have teeth. So,
Right.
2 drinks.
2 more. It's like a 2-for-1 sale.
Dapper will answer what they are later, but in case anyone's curious, they are beak serrations made of keratin.
Mhm.
Teeth are definitively different. Like they have
The closest thing to
particular
teeth is
chemical
actually penguins that have these backward facing. I think they're called. God, I can't remember the name of them. They're called something else though because they're not technically teeth.
It's interesting that they, even in 1991, National Geographic would make that screw up because, again, thinking back to geese, they have beak serrations. It's an obvious thing that a lot of birds have. So why on earth would they think they're teeth when they know beak serrations exist? You know?
Well, I mean, first, National Geographic. Well, Kent doesn't like to admit it. It's not a scientific publication. It's popular science. And second, having read a lot of National Geographic, they might have had that in like one of the opening paragraphs and then gone on to explain, oh, they're not really teeth. Because that's kind of the style they like to use with a lot of things. But go figure, Kent cherry picks a little bit.
Say it ain't so.
If you think penguins, if you think those teeth within a penguin's mouth are nightmare material, wait till you see what's inside a leatherback turtle's mouth.
Papillae, I think they're called, or something like that.
Yeah, pragmatic raises a good question. What the hell is an egg tooth?
An egg tooth is a bone. It is not a tooth. It
Little
is
horn.
It's a little projection of bone on the tip of the beak. Teeth are made of dentin and enamel. If you've ever lost a tooth as a kid and like looked at it and felt it, you'd have felt it was really, really smooth, and it just looks different than a bone. If you've like say had chicken or something and seen bones, they're
Good point.
different chemically, and in fact, teeth are much more durable.
Well, my teeth would dispute that, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, I hadn't really noticed the smoothness thing before, but you're right now that you mention it. But I learned from another video on Kent's channel before it disappeared, actually, that teeth started out as like epidermis. They were scales rather than being modified bone parts that came out of the jaw.
Yes. I'm going to say tentatively yes. I know that's the case in sharks, and it's thought to be the case in most fish, but I can't guarantee there aren't other ways it's appeared.
Yeah, convergent evolution is a thing. It'd be neat.
Yeah, because like Dapper mentioned earlier, lizards and snakes, their teeth don't grow in a socket like ours. They grow in a groove in the jaw, which, I mean, there could be a bit of... I'm just going to have to say I don't know, honestly. I don't know. But I think that is the most commonly accepted idea.
Not having teeth is not proof of any ancestor. Birds today produce birds. Reptiles produce reptiles. Dinosaurs produce dinosaurs. There are no exceptions.
Kentism.
None. If you want to dream or imagine like SpongeBob that there's some kind of relationship, that is pure imagination.
Oh
We
god,
could
there's
find
another
thousands
one.
of words that have very
SpongeBob
similar
reference.
spelling, maybe just one letter
That's got to
different.
count for one,
Like
right?
run.
Sorry.
So what? That's
there was another Kentism.
3 rapid fire.
Yeah.
There are no exceptions. None. If you want to dream or imagine like SpongeBob that there's some kind of relationship, that is pure imagination. We probably could find thousands of words that have very similar spelling, maybe just one letter difference. Like run and ruin. Wow, only one letter difference. It's a completely different word with a different meaning. So the fact that some birds have teeth, some don't. Okay, some mammals have teeth, some don't. Some people have teeth, some don't. Okay. So
Kentism stolen from, is it Gish?
Yeah. Yep. Stolen from Gish or his other mentor. But this is the whole point. Like, because we're what is it? Diphyodonts?
Diffidonts?
Diffidonts? Yeah. We've basically got 2 sets of teeth, and that's all we get. But there are animals out there that will grow multiple sets. Like sharks, for instance, they keep growing teeth. Like they just keep growing them and keep growing them and keep growing them. We're sort of saying that, hey, birds don't grow teeth at all. But we do find some birds like the Archaeopteryx with teeth and essentially it's indistinguishable from another, sort of raptor head. Like,
I mean, heck, it was only really discovered in the last few years, but Archaeopteryx did have velociraptor-like little claws on its toes. It had the little raptor claws.
So it could shred very tiny things.
More so for grabbing, but yes.
But the whole point here is he's sort of saying, hey, birds don't have teeth, some humans don't have teeth. And it's like, what? Like, that is such a dumb argument, because we're talking about sort of phenotype, not just individuals within a group. We're talking about the ordinary taxonomy of something, not why Kent?
Because Kent.
In
In case anyone's curious why we only get 2 sets of teeth, that's because we're descended from mammals that only lived like 2 years at the most. So they didn't need more sets of teeth.
Well, that's just fucking rude.
And
Yeah.
if you wanted to know where teeth came from, they were originally the posterior pharynx of jawless fish.
That's jaws, aren't they?
Done.
It was evolved from the
Done.
gill arches. Jaws were, I know.
It is believed to be in the posterior pharynx of jawless fish. I'll put the article in the chat so you guys can have a look at it. And it's actually interesting. The teeth have actually developed multiple times.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
There's actually 2 theories on it, as far as I'm reading. It's either ectoderm denticles, like scales, that folded and integrated into the mouth, and that's the outside-in theory, or, as Beamsy was saying, from endoderm pharyngeal teeth, primarily forms from the pharynx of jawless vertebrates, the inside-out theory.
Oh, the pharyngeal teeth.
Okay. And, yeah, I had to look it up to make sure. BMZ, you're right. Sort of right. Our modern jaws evolved from the pharyngeal arches. So, like, the bars between the gills you see in, like, modern fish. The frontmost arches were able to open and shut a little bit, and were eventually used to help capture food. And then, teeth can evolve multiple ways. It's interesting.
So that's not proof of anything as far as common ancestor. I cover in my seminar on drdino.com the problem with what you're teaching here. Charles Darwin, when he went to Ecuador,
On my
South
DVDs.
America, right there.
Yeah. Oh man, I should have counted his shilling as a Kentism.
Yes, you should have. How did
Should
you
we?
not?
Should we?
Yeah.
Really? You want to add some
Yeah.
more to this fiasco? Sure.
It's a
Bring
drink.
it on. I mean, I'm not drinking alcohol, so I'm,
Yeah, you're not.
Mark's all like, whatever, man.
For the record, people, there will be a bio break about 2 hours in because we will be drinking a lot.
There, the Galapagos Islands off the coast of Ecuador. He studied the birds. He hated birds because birds ate worms and Charlie liked worms. So he shot every bird he could find just because to rescue the worms. The guy was a serious mental case, in my totally unbiased and completely humble opinion. But he sailed around the Galapagos.
Yeah, that's an error.
Well, it's more like, I mean, he knows that he's lying. Like, he knows that he's trying to make a joke out of it. Like, oh, I'm completely biased and not at all humble. Yeah, we know, Kent. We know. Like, the amount of times he sort of made a Jesus comparisons to himself because people are picking on him is insane.
I have to carry this cross.
Right. Jesus went through this kind of thing when he was lying on the cross and being attacked by the government for his beliefs.
The problem is he
I cover it on. Yeah, I cover it on DVD 5.
Yeah, he could never be a Jesus character because he's not well hung.
Oh no! Damn it, BMZ.
And we know this because he can't seem to hold on to a wife for any significant.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Ayo.
Boom.
I was just going to imply it. I wasn't going to outright say it, but
Yeah. For the record, if anyone's curious, people executed by hanging, or at least men, often die with the strongest boners of their life because of how the rope pinches the cords in your neck. Or the
And
nerves in
we've
your
got a
neck.
drink once for Beamsy making a mistake because people are not hung. They're hanged.
Hanged. Yep.
Well,
So
some
you're-
people are
you're-
hung. Sorry you weren't, Mark.
Well, some people are both, but let's face it. Like, but technically, that joke doesn't work because when you do execute somebody, they're hanged, not hung. Hung is when you hang dead things, and hanging is when you hang.
No,
Yeah,
it is correct to
it's-
say because of the 2 points of contact when it on a crucifix, it is hung.
No.
Oh, okay. So when you do the execution hanging, that because it's a hanging, you need the past tense of hanging, which would be hanged. But in the case of a crucifix, yeah, I would say a person would be hung because it's not a hanging; it's a different action, and it is kind of how you would hang a tapestry.
I thought it had to do whether it's alive or dead, right?
I don't know. I have no idea.
There goes silence on HMS
Okay.
Beagle because he couldn't find a job anywhere else, and his dad got him on there as the captain's companion for 5 years because they would feed him. Charlie, only degree he ever got was a degree in theology. Graduated from college to be a preacher.
What has this got to do with
Charlie-
anything? This is just like an ad hominem of Darwin. It's just
It
like,
sure
why?
It's
Darwin.
Kent anti-evolution rant version.
Oh fuck, that's a Kentism.
That is
Rambling about evolution and Darwin for no actual reason.
That's
Hung
true.
is when something has been hanged before. So if you're hanging the washing on the line, it has been hung out, like in the same way that Jesus was
Okay.
hung from a cross. Hanged is exclusively in regard to the execution.
Okay.
So wait, if someone is if someone is hanged, but they survive it, and then they are put up again, would they be hung?
No, it's both occurrences. If you're going for the asphyxiation due to hanging with a noose, that's hanged, regardless of how it is. Hung is you're going to hang someone onto a crucifix. Oh, I hung that person on a crucifix. So that's why Jesus was hung on a crucifix.
Okay. Welcome to English, everybody.
Gotta love it.
Charlie sailed around on the islands. He noticed there were 14 varieties of finches based upon their beak shape. He studied them very carefully and concluded they probably had a common ancestor called a finch. That's all anybody's ever observed. These changes you're pointing out, these similarities you're pointing out in the hip structure or the head structure or the back of the cranium or the jaw structure are not at all evidence of relationship. Timothy, I don't know how you can't see that. They're evidence of
Kentism and an error.
Yeah. It's common design. So apparently it's also an error about Darwin's education. He did go to Cambridge to study for the priesthood and earned a Bachelor of Arts, but he also went to the University of Edinburgh to study medicine.
Yep.
You're right. I forgot about that. So another error.
evidence of a common designer. The Grants went down there and spent a fortune living in the Galapagos Islands for years, 10 years, I believe, and noticed that during dry year, the beak of the finch was a little bit thicker, and during wet years, it was a little bit thinner. Okay, these lines are calibrated to be 1/10 of 1 millimeter. So the beak is 1/10 of a millimeter thicker on average during dry years. Duh, only the birds with a tough beak survive to crack the harder nuts during dry years. It's not. So Darwin counted 14 varieties of finches and concluded they had a common ancestor called a bird. I would agree. But then Charlie wrote his book, and you have fallen for it completely, Timothy, that the origin of species. He said it's a truly wonderful fact that all animals and all plants throughout all time and space should be related to each other. Charlie, if you see 14 kinds of finches, that doesn't prove finches are related to mosquitoes and whales and bananas.
Yes, because that is the only piece of evidence he had. Of course, Kent.
Absolutely. Kentism, though.
Thank you for showing us how wrong we are.
Yeah, the aspect of abiogenesis is more of a spider web than a tree of life at that stage because of the cross-gene transfers.
Mm-hmm.
The microbes are messy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even
Life is
as
messy.
it goes down, Kent can't seem to understand recombination and genetic drift and stuff. He's got his sort of children's just sort of tree of life thing with the scuba diver and stuff, and he just basically tries to make it as simple as that. Like, oh, when did this organism become this one kind of thing? And it's like, it's not that simple. Like the tree of life is more like a mangrove thicket than just a simple little tree.
Yeah, it's much like if you take all a huge variety of humans, from the palest Siberian all the way to the darkest Nairobian, and you line them all up, and you'd be like, okay, wherever you want to put the lines to denote the races. You can't do it because there's that gradient,
Well,
Same thing with species.
In my case, I would put the lines before the first person, after the last person. Okay, there's our races, just one.
Yeah, that works.
Hey, and what do you know? Darwin agreed with you.
Yeah, but the aspect of the biggest thing that really gets my goat when he goes to the showing his lines on paper. See, the amoeba goes to a science teacher. No, see how the line is separating before it goes to the science teacher?
Mm-hmm.
That just really gets my guff that no one points that out. That no, it's not coming from the amoeba. It was separated from the amoeba.
So, back when I first got this computer, I got a absolutely fabulous photo of the tree of life as my background. Where is? Oh, okay. I gotta find it really quick because it really is beautiful. Ah, there it is. Here's a good representation of the tree of life, Kent.
Nice.
Yeah. And
Okay,
and actually,
more of a
Mark,
mangrove.
that mangrove analogy is actually really appropriate, and I can't believe I've never heard anyone say that before.
Oh, I heard it
'Cause-
somewhere. I can't remember, but it
It's
was
like
like,
here at the
yeah,
bottom, like they intertwine a ton with single-celled organisms because of horizontal gene transfer. That's a really good analogy.
maybe it was
But there's-
Dawkins that said that. Was it Dawkins that said that?
I've heard it from a couple different
Maybe.
places. I know Forrest Velkai said it, but he very well could have got it from somewhere else because he reads all the books.
True. And just in case Kent ever watches this and is curious, that amoeba is somewhere over here, I think. And we are all the way over here. There's a little bit of distance between us.
And let's see if you could find a line that leads directly between the two.
Yeah. Wait until he finds out that that animals and fungi are more closely related than either are to plants. Probably blow his mind.
Well, he's got to get blown some way.
God damn it, Beamsy.
Hey-o. Well, I mean, as we've already established, it'd probably be more like a puff than a blow. Also, he just said a Kentism, so drink.
Well, you always need a toothpick after a little bit of a good meal.
This is silly. Charlie observed what we call microevolution, variations within the same kind. There are
What
hundreds of
we
varieties of
call-
dogs, 339 recognized breeds of dogs now. They probably had a common ancestor. That would be a fact. Big dogs and little dogs still have a common ancestor called a dog. That doesn't prove dogs, wolves, and coyotes are related to a banana. Usually I get a 4 or 5-year-old to
Kentism.
answer the question, which one is not like the others?
4 or
And one
5-year-old
in my seminar,
answer
he
the
said the
question.
boy. Okay, well, true, but it's the banana. All right. National Pornographic says
Oh, yes, sorry.
dogs and wolves are related.
There's another Kentism.
Yeah.
On his
Ugh.
5-year-old question, I asked my 4-year-old sister yesterday if she thought birds are dinosaurs. Well, yeah. So there you go, Kent. You're
I
wrong.
know, it's freaking common knowledge at this point. Also, while we're paused, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, but I
And-
love how he's sort of pointing out, like, so on the phylogenetic tree, the banana is that far removed from the others. It's not surprising you would say, hey, that one's different. Yeah, it's in a different kingdom, Kent. Like, the distance between them is massive. It's such a disingenuous thing to say, because even if the evolutionary model is true, that's the odd one out still, right? What are his
Yeah.
examples? Aren't the rest all animals kind of thing?
Coyote, wolf, and dog.
Right. So you've got animals within the same genus kind of thing, right? And you've got one. Are they the
Maybe.
same genus? I'm pretty
They're
sure
at
they
least
are.
the same. They're the same general group. It's fine. It's
Same
a
family, yeah. Um,
How about
aren't
this
they all
comparison?
Canis? Yeah,
They
they're all
are
Canis.
Canis. They're Canis latrans.
Yeah, so they're all the same genus.
Yeah.
So, well, I knew that the wolf was. I'm just not sure about the coyote, but yeah, that's Canis.
Yeah.
So they're all the same
Speaking
genus.
of latrans, happy Pride Month, everybody.
Happy Pride, yeah. Let's get some rainbows in the chat.
Yeah.
But the whole point is that you've got lots of things in the same genus, and then one in a completely different kingdom. Like, you've got to be kidding. That doesn't. Yeah, no.
Well, how about this comparison? Because it's comparing it to a banana. So, which is the odd one out in that case? You've got an echidna, you've got a hedgehog, and you've got a porcupine. Comparing it to a banana, which one's the odd one out?
Mhm.
Oh wait, one's a monotreme, one's an insectivore, and the other one's a mammal. Uh-oh.
Well, they're all mammals.
Details.
Yeah. I forgot exactly what order the porcupine goes under.
Afrothere? Maybe?
But the monotreme really throws out that little problem, doesn't it?
Well, bit.
In my seminar, he said the boy. Okay, well, true, but it's the banana. All right. National Pornographic says dogs and wolves are related. I would agree.
Did
the
he
Bible
just
says they'll
say
bring forth
National
after their-
Pornographic?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
that's
Says it
pretty
all
cool.
the time. Yeah, he always calls it that.
All right. I'll call that a Kentism. It just surprised me because I don't think I've ever heard it before.
Really?
Yeah.
He says that all the time. I suppose I've seen a lot more of them than you have, which is...
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
their kind. And what we've observed, Timothy, is all animals always bring forth after their kind. Reptiles
They're kind.
produce reptiles, lizards produce lizards, birds produce birds. There are no exceptions. Now, if you'd like to believe that, you can, and I think you obviously do.
Believe.
Let me get up to a couple different slides here. Right here. The chromosome numbers are different. I didn't look up for this. I should have, I guess, if we even know the chromosome, the DNA count.
Well,
of
I mean,
dinosaurs.
okay, so we do believe it, and we also claim that as knowledge because it is justified true belief. That's
Okay,
why.
we do believe it, but it's a Kentism to say, "Oh, you believe that, don't you?" Or
Yeah.
it's a religious belief. That's what he's implying when he says belief.
And this one is painful. Let's go to the seals and compare some of the chromosomes between them. Because some of them have 14 and others have 36. What is he trying to make by different chromosomes?
Well, and the question becomes like, I think Atheist Junior brought up the squirrels, or maybe it was Snake was right, but there's squirrels with different amounts of chromosomes, and they can't interbreed. But you claim they're the same kind, and this is the problem I've always had with Kent's kind thing. Like, for instance, against I think it was Jamie I was talking to once. I brought up that bald eagles in America and wedge-tail eagles in Australia have significantly different number of chromosomes. They can't interbreed, right? There's no way, but they're the same kind according to Kent. So his definitions of kind that they can interbreed, they don't work.
It's just as soon as he uses this evidence, you start thinking, okay, let's go to seals or eagles or horses or any other different animal that we could think of that they would classify as the same kind. It breaks down under this.
And the mistake here is thinking the more chromosomes it has, the more complex or developed or evolved something is, right? Or because chromosomes fuse as well. So we've got less chromosomes than the other apes. Well, they do split, but I'm saying that his thing of saying, well, since penicillin has less chromosomes, then it must have evolved first. No, that's not correct. Because if a chromosomes fuse, it will have less and could evolve later, right?
Also, really quick, we have a question from a chat. Was T-Rex a chicken? No, it was not. So,
No, wishbone.
really quick,
We've already
this might look,
Mm.
but if I may, this might look a little confusing at first, but this is a diagram of the dinosaur family tree. As you can see, we start all the way down here, and then go up and around everywhere. Here we have T-Rex, okay? We follow the line of T-Rex down, we come to here, right here, all the way back.
I don't see where you're pointing.
Do you not see my mouse?
I see it now.
Okay. So we start it with T-Rex over here. We go all the way down to right here. And if we were to go to a chicken, it would be right about here. So T-Rex and a chicken are very, very far apart in the dinosaur family tree. Their lineages split apart like 100 million years.
It's okay. Missing Mod doesn't want to look at a chart this complicated. It's just fair to say that a T-Rex a chicken didn't come from a T-Rex, but a T-Rex and a chicken had a common ancestor. They split apart ages ago. And one line went to T-Rex, and that stopped, obviously. And the other went to modern birds, which has kept going.
Mm-hmm. And
I just think the saying that it didn't have a wishbone is the easiest evidence for it.
yeah, that's true. No tyrannosaur lived past the end Cretaceous mass extinction. At least none that we know about.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Will we find one someday? Sure. But none of them survived today. We know that pretty definitively.
What's on the screen right now is so wrong. It hurts me. It's so wrong.
The
It
chromosomes?
burns my soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things can develop later and have less chromosomes. It doesn't matter. Like, to sort of say, hey, the more chromosomes it has, the more complex it is. That's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily true to say the less chromosomes it has, the less evolved. No, that's not true either. It really has to do with the information in the genomes, not how many chromosomes there actually are.
And like, chromosomes can split, chromosomes can fuse, chromosomes can double, as in like it'll just get copied, and then each copy is then free to evolve completely separately. Genetics are really freaking complicated. Just saying things have the same number of chromosomes doesn't matter at all.
Some of the birds, but penicillin has 2 chromosomes. Fruit flies have 8. Tomatoes have 12. Actually, tomatoes and houseflies both have 12, so that's proof they're identical twins. Nobody can tell the difference between those two. And then the possum, the redwood...
no one can tell the difference.
Yeah, this is just chromosome number. Like, if you actually look at the chromosomes, they're completely different, Kent. This is such a poor straw man of an argument.
I know.
It's sort of saying, hey, because... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I will say, if you are looking at animals that are closely related, you can look at their chromosome counts before actually, reading the information in the chromosomes to get a preliminary guess on which is most closely related to which.
Yeah,
because the more closely related they are, the more likely they are to have a similar number of chromosomes. Like, we have one less chromosome than a chimpanzee.
2.
Tree and the kidney bean all have 22 chromosomes. Let's see, there's the
It
possum.
means one less pair. Come on, Beans.
One less pair. You're right, Beamsy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
One less pair.
Sorry.
That did cross my mind, and I just refrained from saying it. I just thought, yeah, he means pair. That's obvious.
Sorry, I'm a full glass of spicy Marion at this point.
Oh, and the redwood tree and that's the kidney bean. Average scientist, of course, cannot tell the difference. He thinks they're all...
Cannot tell the difference.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, see, this is why I say, like, Kent, he's probably... if not the worst, one of the worst straw man generators I've seen. That logical fallacy of the straw man. He's sort of, because we say, hey, they have the same chromosomes. That's a fact. Oh, well, they're all identical. Nobody is saying that. Like, nobody. I really. This is why I doubt Kent's honesty, because that kind of argument is so bad. It's such a horrible argument.
Oh, I don't doubt his honesty at all. I know he's lying. Or at least I am convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that he's lying.
I think he believes some of what he's saying, but I just don't know how somebody could sort of claim to be honest when trotting out an argument like this. It's so incredibly dishonest. It just, it just doesn't. Yeah.
It's one thing to put out an argument like this if you didn't know better, but how many interactions with people that know better, that have explained it to him very clearly, that's where it gets into the...
For decades.
Yeah.
For decades. And, also, we have a legitimate question from chat. Wonder how dinosaurs taste. Well, we know what chicken tastes like.
I was going to say, but it
we
tastes
know
like
what
chicken.
alligator tastes like. It tastes like chicken.
However,
and-
duck is a little bit richer than chicken.
True,
That's
but
true.
they are similar.
Emu
And turkey's a little bit different as well.
Oh,
so-
yeah, turkey's very different.
They're different, but they are similar, I will say. Like they're
Well, emu is very, very different.
Really?
I haven't
I have
had
never
emu,
tried
but I
emu.
have had ostrich, and ostrich
Yeah,
tastes
emu's-
like beef more than chicken.
Yeah.
really.
Yep. Same with emu.
Huh.
Or
I've
maybe
never
a
had
bit
the
of, like,
chance to try it.
A cross between emu, chicken and venison. Maybe would you say that is, Beamsy?
It's more sort of a Venice beef sort of flavor. It hasn't got anything to do
Yeah.
with chicken.
Interesting. Okay.
It's like
Well, I
a
mean-
gamey. It's very much like
Yeah,
a gamey
gamey.
beef.
Huh.
Yeah,
Well-
that's a good description. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kangaroo is a good
the
one. that's close
surviving
to it.
proteins we have from, at least the collagen we have left from T-Rex is most similar to an ostrich's. So maybe T-Rex tasted like an ostrich.
Maybe.
And that's why they went extinct. They tasted too damn good.
The asteroid wanted a piece.
Well, the most hilarious
The
thing
aliens
is
stopped by for KFC.
And
the
burned
people
the
going
planet
to
to
the-
the ground.
KFT.
the funniest thing is people going to Galapagos and they couldn't get a giant tortoise back to England because they used to get eaten on the way. Apparently, they were that delicious that nobody could resist eating them on the trip back.
I thought they took them specifically for food because they were just so
That's
big.
what I heard.
Well, they did, but they tried to get a specimen back, but they're just so delicious that they ate them before they could get back to England.
I imagine feeding it might have also been an issue. 'Cause, like,
Well, sure.
it would have been like a year or two boat ride back. Okay, boat ride. What's a boat ride called? Voyage.
Well, it depends. It depends if you're using a self-propelled Mormon submarine or not, quite frankly.
Well, oh god. Okay, back to Kent. That's less meaningful.
They're all related. So counting chromosome numbers showing similarities doesn't prove anything. Chimpanzees and
Wait, shit, go back.
tobacco both have 48
Error
chromosomes.
counter.
It doesn't prove anything. It's a common designer, made everything. Use the same alphabet,
fuck
use
a
the
duck.
same DNA.
Yeah, and
Getting
we
ahead
had
of me
2
again.
errors and a Kentism there.
I've already nearly gone through a 1 liter bottle of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm being careful, and I'm pretty low.
I am done with my first drink, meaning I get to move on to my backup. A peach Bellini? Which seems interesting. It's a bit of a lighter drink, but hopefully it's good.
DNA code to make everything. Chickens and dogs both have 78. Would you argue that chickens are dogs? They both have the same number of chromosomes. If you want to find similarities, I suppose we could find lots of similarities different ways. But I would point out all observation, all human
Okay, but what's in the chromosome, Kent?
Mm-hmm.
what does what's in the chromosome tell you?
Yep.
Also, I think we're about to have another Kentism.
That's sort of saying. So what he's basically doing is saying, hey, this book over here and this other book have the same amount of pages, therefore they're the same book. That's essentially what he's saying, which is so stupid. Like, when would you ever go, well, the Bible has, this 1,000 pages or whatever, and this fantasy science fiction book has 1,000, so they are the same book. That's stupid. That's so stupid.
Also, we have this here. So Göbekli Tepe, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's an interesting little civilization where they weren't agrarian, like most of our recent history big civilizations. There's just so much to gather in the surrounding area that they could sustain a large population there. And we don't really have any evidence of advanced civilizations before. I think it's like, is it like 5,000 BCE?
No, it's circa 9,500 and 8,000 BCE.
Advanced civilizations.
Yeah, I guess it depends on where you put the criteria, because just like with species, there's no clear line. You get one element over here, like, this culture will develop weapons and metal tools, but this culture will have buildings, and then somebody else will have indoor plumbing or something. Little pieces pop up here and there.
True. But well,
I have heard a number of people try to make connections between some of the most ancient pre-civilization cultures with the Atlantis story, as Plato related it in his original writings. He talked about it as something that had happened 10,000 years before, and he was just getting it written down because he never found it written down before. So the timing kind of sort of lines up, and people go, oh, well, Noah's flood of Gilgamesh, all these things, they could coincide with the sudden destruction of a pre-existing civilization, which is why civilizational history seems to start somewhere around 12,000 years ago. But we still have no flood to work with, so it doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
Like, there were definitely local floods, and I believe the current consensus is Noah's flood is an exaggerated version of a tale of a local flood. Because in the area where it originated, even a local flood would have been absolutely catastrophic. It would have filled the entire river valley.
Mm-hmm.
So to them, it would appear like their world was flooding.
Yeah, and I could easily see somebody who survived something like that telling their grandchild, it was such a huge flood, it was like the whole world was flooded, and that became the story.
Especially when most of them died within 10 miles of where they were born.
Yeah. I mean, to them, that was the whole world.
Yeah, definitely. Scale is interesting.
Of the world goes against what you're saying.
Also,
nobody ever
Kentism.
sees any kind of animal produce a different kind of animal. Ferns have 480 chromosomes, so they'd be the grandpa of all of us here.
Kentism.
So it is simply a line number 47 in my series. I did lies in the textbooks to say that the similarities prove anything.
Pitching
And
a shit.
Kentism.
Common designer, Frank.
And an error that I forgot to count, I think. Shit, I'm already a third of the way through this bottle.
You take it easy, Doc.
It's 3% alcohol. I'll be fine.
If you're interested in that sort of stuff,
if
you're actually interested in that sort of ancient stuff, look at the Therapetra caves. That's probably the oldest indication of human building that we've ever had.
Okay. I do find it really interesting. It's just not my area of expertise. I can only really say what I've heard from experts.
Yeah, it's a stone wall at the entrance of a cave from around 21,000 BC.
Really? Do we know the wall was 21,000 BC?
That's
or
when
was
they
the cave
estimated.
inhabited by then?
That's when the wall was actually constructed.
Okay. Huh. Very interesting.
It was just used to keep the wind out of the cave, but it's interesting that they built that it was actually built.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is hard to preserve stuff. Like, we think of our modern civilization as being, so grand and leaving such a mark on the world, but there's a village near me where during the Great Depression they abandoned the village. Stories vary as to why, but effectively federal emergency management came in and kicked everyone out. And that was almost 100 years ago. And you can go there now, and there is nothing left but the cemetery. Everything else, where the schoolhouse used to be, there's still bricks on the ground that used to be the floor. But other than that, everything is gone. And Victorian era building techniques are not all that different from what we use today. In some ways, they were sturdier. And it's just gone. So just 100 years or so down the line, even if there were an advanced civilization, it'd be undetectable.
The
True,
issue
and
when you come to modern building techniques, steel rusts. So anything that you're using steel with will fall apart after a couple of 100 years. The only thing that would really last is exclusively stone built.
Yeah, like real stone. The concrete crumbles to shit in a couple of decades when it's not maintained.
Well, for a while, there would be a high concentration of iron in the area.
Well, gold doesn't rust, so when our civilization crumbles in the future, all they're going to find of it is like Trump's toilet.
Awesome.
But semi-related to what you were saying, though, Emperor, I remember there being this really fascinating explanation for why we don't have many stone tools from Homo erectus in Southeast Asia. Because, we find them everywhere else in the old world, everywhere.
Yeah, like Africa
But
and stuff.
not in
absolutely.
Southeast Asia. And the reason we think that we don't find them is because they would have used bamboo. Because in a lot of areas, bamboo would have been an easier access than stone.
Mm-hmm. And you can get it sharper,
as well
too.
as being lighter, sharp, and easy to work with. Yeah.
That tracks.
It's fascinating stuff.
See homes all over the place. The house on the rock up in Wisconsin is pretty cool. Frank Lloyd
It is.
I will agree with that. The house on the rock is awesome.
I haven't ever been, but Neil Gaiman told me about it in one of his books. And I've tried like hell to get there when I was driving across country, but I just never got close enough while they were open. Alas.
Oh, man. I mean, shit, that's close enough to Iowa. Let me know next time. I'll come with you.
Lloyd Wright was a kind of an eccentric building designer. And you can look at all the buildings he designed and had built and say, wow, there are some similarities here. Okay, it's coming from the hand of the mind of the same designer. So I wish you could see. Let me get up here. One more thought here.
There's a Kentism.
Damn it,
You're
Kent.
because there are similarities in the hips or the jaw or the nasal cavities, that therefore they're related. None of that would make any evidence in an honest court of law that wouldn't last.
Yeah, I just added 5 errors there because it has. And yeah, actually, that was like 10 at once. So a couple gulps, everybody.
Damn it. I was trying to keep track on my own, but my score's fucked now.
Yeah.
I gave up ages ago counting, honestly. Like, seriously,
If we were actually properly counting and going through everything he was saying, we'd be into the 50s quite easily.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
Number 2. I've got like half a sip left in this one.
Yeah, just sorry, Kent. These have proven themselves in an honest court of law multiple times. So, yeah, just entirely freaking wrong, of course.
Last 30 seconds. All of it would be dismissed. It's not evidence that they are related. You can interpret it that way, and you do. Okay. Structural evidence. They'll say, well, we've got 2 bones in our forearm, the radius and the ulna, and so does the bird. So does the whale. The similar structure. It's usually in all the textbooks. I'm in a room full of science textbooks here, hundreds of them. They do indeed teach that there are similarities between the 4-limb structure called homology. Bird wing, the bat wing, showing them all. Homology versus analogy. The term analogous structures pertain to the various structures in different species having the same function but have evolved separately. This is what
Yes, and with the example there, it's actually a really excellent example. Because
My question for
Okay.
Kenty right now would be, what has got this to do with anything about the topic?
he's going for the same designer angle, I'm pretty sure. And just saying that all these similarities are because of a common designer. But he doesn't get the topic that Dapper is trying to address.
Oh,
That
he gets
birds are
it.
categorically dinosaur. Or if he does get it, he's trying to dance around it as much as absolutely possible.
It just seems like he's been dancing around the topic since the get-go, and he's trying to not create any sort of basis of they're not birds.
Yeah.
If there's a point somewhere, can we get to it, please? Did I miss that stop?
But is there a rest stop between here and the fucking point? But on a serious note, this chart right here is actually a really good example of homology and analogy. Because all of these bones here, you can see they have the exact same bones, just changed a little bit to suit different functions. But down here, we have completely different ways of achieving the same goal. That's what homology and analogy are. Now, homology is the original or the same start point to achieve different ends, and analogy is the same or different start points to achieve the same goal.
I think I agree with John Rapp.
Oh no, what's John saying? What do they mean by that? Just
So
Kent's just white noise, and you can enjoy the chat.
Because there's drama in
yeah.
chat basically. So Tim called Titan Uranus a nerd in chief gatekeeper. So he's basically bullying Titan with the label nerd. And as a nerd, I banned his ass because wow, you asked, yeah. So yeah, I can unban him if you want. That's fine. It's just
It's an ongoing thing between Titan and Tim. Tim was being iffy on the lines of transphobia, and Titan wants Tim to answer a simple question: Are trans women women?
I see. Yeah,
And
sorry.
he just
Oh, it's your channel, so it's your call, Doctor. I was going to ask you whether you
like
unhide him or because he's hidden at the moment, so he's
like
completely unable to.
Like Titan, he can be active in the chat until he's
Okay.
acting like a shitbird. And yeah, just transphobia is not allowed in this chat. Sorry. Like, go somewhere else, please.
All right. Well,
I'm
Tim,
sure
I'll
Donnie has
unhide
stuff for
you. I'll unhide you, but your best behavior, mate. Your best behavior.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, until I see it, I wouldn't ban him yet.
Okay.
Just because I haven't seen it in the chat. Until I see it, no offense, but it is hearsay to me.
This has been an ongoing thing from about 4 or 5 different chats. Titan could be a bit more clear on it, but at every chat I've seen Titan and Tim together, it's just been an ongoing thing.
Yeah, although on the other hand, Titan is like the supreme mod of YouTube and knows the community guidelines backwards, forwards, and inside and out. So I tend to just trust Titan's judgment.
That's fair, but just
same here.
Until I see it happening, it's okay for him to be.
And don't hassle the mods, Tim. The mods they're doing, they're helping out with no payment and no comp. Like these people are helping just off the sheer goodness of their heart. Don't give them a hard time. Like seriously.
Yeah. Appreciate the work you do, Titan, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
We
What
appreciate you, Titan.
Thus,
we
do not
really
share a
do.
common ancestor.
agreed. Thank you.
And this is the only observable evidence, which is what science deals with, observation, testing, demonstration, is that birds produce birds. And specific kinds of birds.
Kentism.
Hummingbirds will never produce a buzzard or a crow. They just can't do it, or a canary.
They could evolve into a buzzard or a crow. They could.
It can't. There are limits. Sure, there are variations. I don't know how many varieties of hummingbirds, probably 100 of them, maybe 200, but they're still hummingbird. They might have had a common ancestor called a hummingbird. I don't know how many kinds of birds God made in the original creation. It'd be a guess on my part, probably a couple of hundred kinds. They've now diversified into thousands.
But that isn't even the debate. The debate is whether a dinosaur produced a bird. That's the debate.
No.
This
the
is all
debate
just
the debate is
semantics
just
around.
if birds
yeah.
are categorically dinosaurs, like a chimp is categorically an animal.
Right.
That's the debate. Kent's just off in his own little world, and he got an error, so that's a drink.
And you got what?
He got an error. He got something wrong, so that's a drink.
Oh, God damn it.
Classification system, but they call it homologous or analogous, like a hummingbird wing versus the dragonfly wing. And the kid goes away from this class thinking the teacher somehow proved evolution, when they prove no such thing. Evolution evidence, analogous structures. This is not evidence for evolution. This is evidence for design. The platypus and the duck both lay eggs. Yes, boys and girls, look, that proves evolution. You've been taught this stuff all your life, apparently, Timothy, and I guess you believed it. I feel bad for that. You need to get your money back for that education.
Yeah, we got another few errors. And Kentisms. Got to get your money back for that education. That's another Kentism. Sure, insult other people's education, Kent. And what's yours again?
I know freaking kettle calling the pot colors.
Ugh.
Education you got, but the evolution is a shell game. The biologist thinks that the geologist has it. The geologist thinks the anthropologist has it. They're all lying. Nobody.
And that's another couple errors.
Actually, Gutsec Gibbon brought up something that I think it was, I can't remember who said it. Might have been Kent, that they said, oh, you know, if you ask the biologist, they'll point at the geologist as having the best evidence for evolution. If you point at the geologist, they'll point at the geneticist as having the best evidence. And no, that's not true at all. Every single field thinks that they have the best evidence for evolution because they've studied that field. If you ask a geneticist, and you can point out people like Francis Collins, for instance, he's a Christian and a geneticist, and basically says that genetics is the nail in the coffin of creationism. Like, there is no way it can work. So, you know.
Well, I have not seen that video, Dr. Octagon, but I could believe it.
What?
From what I've heard, he's an absolutely unbearable ass to be around.
You don't say.
Never would have guessed.
No, I haven't seen that.
They had like a Project Valkyrie kind of thing going on.
I don't know what that is. What's Project Valkyrie? Do I want to know? Is this a conspiracy theory thing?
It actually is. It's a real conspiracy. It was the plot to kill Hitler. Several members of the Nazi high command wanted. They knew that he was way over the shark and out, off in the woods, and they're like, we're going to lose this war unless we change leadership here. And they were right.
Yeah, and then Hitler got to himself before they could. Mm-hmm. Wasn't there something crazy, like a briefcase in his office exploded and he just happened to not be in it at the time?
Yeah, like the timing was wrong or something. Tom Cruise
that
is in a
happened
movie about
several times. He was just lucky as shit.
That's it. Weird shit like that happens. It's like something like world leaders in a time of extreme historical importance suddenly become frickin' immortal. Like Lincoln had 5 unsuccessful assassination attempts, and then when the war was over, a frickin' actor got him.
Yeah. Also, apparently Big Bad Mama has a channel called Poison Cookies has a video called Poison Cookies about the conspiracy to kill Kent.
Oh.
You know what? I'll check that out after the stream, Big Bad Mama.
Yeah.
Also, didn't know you posted stuff, so I guess you have a new
Oh
subscriber.
yeah, Big
Yeah,
Bad Mama's
Big
channel
Bad
is
Mama does
all about
hilarious
dunking on Kent, and
Yep.
occasionally Matt Powell.
Noted.
Yeah.
Very, very noted. I'm always happy to see Matt get smacked around. And look, Christian Pike, you can say whatever you want as long as you aren't an ass. Okay? Just be a decent person and you can be in the chat. Like, I don't care if you're an atheist, if you're a Christian, if you're a Hindu, whatever your background is. As long as you can be nice with other people, you're welcome. Let's just
Well, they deal with
help
me,
them
and I'm a
learn-
pagan.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's fine. I was a pagan once upon a time too.
I wasn't.
I mean, well, by some definitions, we're all pagans.
I mean, like
Drink
I
for Ember
started-
getting something wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't follow the official religion of Rome, you're a pagan by definition.
Yeah, and you know what? That is totally fair, Christian Pike. That is totally fair. Most Christians accept evolution.
Yeah.
Unlike what Kent would have you believe.
And here's the thing: evolution doesn't disprove a god, right? Like it just accounts for the diversity of life. It doesn't actually disprove that a god did the process or designed the process or started the process.
Mhm.
It doesn't address that. Like it just doesn't. So there's no problem being a Christian and believing in evolution or accepting evolution as true. There's no problem with it. I don't understand the big problem. It's kind of like, well, I'd have to have my book literally true in all places, and I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But that's probably because I'm not a fundamentalist.
Most Christians think that the Bible is mostly allegory. And from what I've heard, that's what the original authors intended for it to be. So, yeah. I did not have to change my name. I guess my account was new enough or my name was just unique enough. Like I said, Mark, do you know Titan on Discord?
Oh yeah. Give me 1 sec. Sorry. That's
Okay.
what I was
Yeah,
doing.
I tried to
Mark-
send.
I got really distracted by the poison cookies. I'm not gonna lie. I was looking for it,
That's
and
fair.
then I was
That's fair.
like,
I tried to send Titan your code thing, whatever, but it didn't work apparently. Because I'm
Oh.
bad at my job.
My favorite song about Kent, I cannot say on stream. Da 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 da. Well, speaking of Kent, he is why we're here.
Nobody has any evidence for evolution. So you think dinosaurs turned to birds? The Bible says clearly in
Factually
Genesis
wrong.
1 that the fowl will fly above the earth in the open firmament, and every winged fowl after his kind. Let the fowl multiply in the earth. God says very clearly on the fifth day, he made the birds, and they will bring forth after their kind. There are no exceptions to that. None. Nobody's ever seen a duck.
Yeah, that's a few errors that's a few Kentisms.
yep.
I mean, technically errors too, because the birds did not day 5 all nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see why we'd believe it anyway. Like why is this one book suddenly? Obviously, if you're a Christian, it's an authority, but why is some part of the Bible kind of just hyperbole and metaphors and sort of poetry and things like that? And why is it that this has to be true? I'm not sure I understand, but again, not a fundamentalist, so I don't get it.
Also, I do want to point this out. Good on you, Christian Pike. We need more Christians standing up against Kent and his ilk. People need to know they are not the only Christians there are. People of all faiths see him as an idiot.
Matt Powell. Oh, I'd love to debate Matt Powell. I'm actually a little jealous.
Would you? I feel like your head might explode.
Well,
Mark has remarkably good head control. I have noticed on multiple occasions.
it's lack of hair.
Yes.
It's lightweight and very streamlined. That's my secret. That's my secret, Cap. I'm always bald. And Christian Pike, if ever you want a discussion, hey, hit me up. I'll drop my email in the chat. Hit me up if you do want a discussion or something like that. If you have been debating and stuff, we can talk about theology and things like that. I like talking to. I want to talk to more reasonable sort of theists and people that I can have discussions with, rather than these debates that are kind of they can be very, very, like, I don't know. I kind of. Yeah, I like debates, but at the moment it just seems like I'm, going up against people that think that rocks are organs from giants and, the Earth's flat and stuff like that. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, regardless of what circles we belong to, I think we can all agree the radicals make us all look bad.
Mm-hmm. And worse, they pose a threat to people. Like, within just a couple of years, we had radicals from one religion blow up a building in New York, and a radical from a completely different religion, local to the United States, blow up a building in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. They're all bad news.
Don't let ideology carry you into doing stupid things. Always try to be a rational person. Please. Try.
A duck produce a non-duck, or a bird produce a non-bird, or a reptile produce a non-reptile. You can imagine it if you want.
Please, that's not three instances. Oh, come on.
Yeah, no, that was one instance.
Okay,
and
he does like to bring them in 3-packs.
He does, yes.
He really does. I'm almost through with this other bottle.
Every creeping thing will bring forth after their
To be fair, it's a much smaller bottle, but still.
kind, and all this happened on the 6th day. So God made all the reptiles. Actually, he made the birds before he made the reptiles. And you're teaching that the reptiles evolved into birds, or turned into.
Yeah, there's another few.
No. Kent, no. Reptiles didn't evolve into birds.
You asked for this.
I didn't ask for this. This was not my idea. This is Dr. Dino's idea. How dare you accuse me?
You didn't object, though. You did not object.
I did not, all right? I wanted to support you.
I said, hey, I want to do this. And you just said, yeah, all right.
Oh, you. I wanted to support you and be a good friend, and immediately regret my decision.
And this is why we call him Daddy Kent. Harder, Daddy Kent, harder with your misrepresentations.
So just for the records, reptiles didn't turn into birds. Okay? That is not what happened. Dinosaurs turned into birds. Dinosaurs aren't reptiles.
Well, they are reptiles. They're not. They're not like other reptiles. They're not like other reptiles. They're archosaurs, which you back in the reptilian family tree. I'm sure there are more, but there are two major radiations. There are the lepetosaurs, which are like snakes and lizards. And you have archosaurs, which are like crocodilians and dinosaurs. So they are reptiles, just not much like the reptiles we have today.
Yep.
To do, but
that's a dragon.
That's a dangerous position to be in. Dragons and.
He gets hung up on dragons from time to time.
God a liar, which of course you're welcome to do, but.
Yeah, it's a Bible quote.
Like, I think Dapper may or may not have finished with the series, because I haven't caught a Dapper in a couple of sessions, but he's been doing a thing where Kent runs through how everything in the universe is actually dragons. That dinosaurs are actually dragons, of course, but so are lions, and so it's a whole thing.
That's another level of stupidity. Come on, Kent. Just when I think you can't get any worse.
It was 90s Kent on an old VHS. He was trying to prove that the Bible is true and that society has declined since we stopped teaching the Bible in schools.
Oh, of course he did.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it, Kent.
But I think that's a dangerous position to be in. Dragons and owls. Dinosaurs are alive as birds, a scientist says. This is absolute.
I could be wrong. I think that might be Thomas Carr. I could be wrong. If he is a fantastic Tyrannosaur expert.
Absurd. It's a bird. It's a dinosaur. This is the common teaching for the last.
Is he drinking when he lies too now?
Okay.
No, if he was, he'd be pretty damn tipsy.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm sorry, he's never tasted alcohol. Oh, hey, Archaeoraptor.
Yeah. It's been 20-some years, whatever it is, that they're teaching this. Breaking news. National Pornographic. Dinosaurs turn to birds.
Kentism pornographic.
This is ludicrous. A 20-ton dinosaur turned into a chicken. I find it hard to believe that a grown man.
Yeah, okay, I counted that as like 3 errors. Just making sure I counted
We need a dinger like Cinema Sins. Just.
If I knew how to set it up, I would. If.
Peter could probably help with that.
But yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, like I said earlier, T-Rex did not become a chicken. T-Rex did not lead to any birds. Ever. The babies may have had feathers. That's as close to bird-like as you can really get.
Grown man could believe such a thing. This is, 2000s when they started teaching this, I guess, so 19 or 20 years. This is not science, Timothy. I wish you could see it. It's a vivid imagination.
This is not science.
It conflicts with what I already think, therefore it can't be true.
Yep.
So we'll do some more of this in rebuttal. I've got a whole list of questions to ask you. All right, thank you, sir. Go ahead.
All right. So
And there's Kent. So, now that they are done with their intros, Dapper has an error count of 1. Kent has 39.
Although, on the semi-plus side for him, his errors are lower than his Kentisms, so he just says the same thing a lot more than he lies.
Could have told you.
So far.
So let's see. One of the first things you said was birds coming from non-birds. So I, oddly enough, have a slide for this. So let's see.
Oddly enough.
So this doesn't prove birds evolved or shared a common ancestor, all the things I said. Well, whether or not it doesn't have to in order to prove that birds are dinosaurs. Whether
I'm not arguing for evolution.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the counters. Dapper saying he's not arguing for evolution. That's 2.
birds evolved or not, they have all the anatomic traits needed to be a dinosaur. If you think that's a problem, that's on you. What I've laid out are simply the facts of the anatomy of birds, both fossil and living. It might not prove birds evolved or share a common ancestor, or that they evolved from non-avians, but it's certainly consistent with the conclusion that they're dinosaurs. So as I said in my first non-introduction slide that I unfortunately kind of skipped over because I forgot to hit the button, but that's on me, I'm not actually here to argue whether or not birds evolved. So for instance, if you look at, say, cows and deer and goats, we notice that they all have certain commonalities. In fact, the Bible itself calls out these commonalities when it says that the clean animals that you can eat include the cloven-hooved animals that chew the cud. And in fact, that is essentially identical with the modern classification of ungulate. So God created a bunch of ungulates if the special creation story is true. Well, they're all ungulates, whether or not they're the same quote-unquote kind. So it doesn't actually matter as to whether or not birds are dinosaurs, whether or not this proves they evolved. If we want to have the discussion, did birds evolve from non-bird dinosaurs? It's a slightly different question, and there's a lot of the similar evidence, but it's not quite the same question. So that's the whole thing there. Birds with teeth. You brought up a hummingbird that has teeth. In fact, those are not teeth. Those are beak serrations. You can tell the difference between, because beaks are made of keratin, which is what those serrations are made of, whereas teeth are made of dentin covered with enamel, which is completely different chemistry. You went into some stuff about Darwin. I believe you're factually incorrect about some of it, but it doesn't matter. It's not at issue. The common ancestor of finches is finches. Even if this were a debate strictly about common ancestry, yes, if you find a group of organisms, all of which are in a particular group, then by definition, their common ancestor would be a member of that group. It would be the first member of that group. Chromosome numbers. This is actually an interesting one, because I've heard you say many times that donkeys and horses are the same kind because they can bring forth. And I'm sure that mules are sterile. Well, they're sterile because donkeys and horses have a different chromosome count. So clearly, chromosome count isn't some kind of barrier to your conception of microevolution limited to kinds, whatever kinds are. So I am very confused every time you bring up chromosomes, because even within a group that you consider related, that is horses as a whole, including zebras, there's variation in chromosome count. So I still am baffled by why you use that argument. Let's see. You said that in passing, scientists can't tell if, I don't know if it was elephants or pine trees or whatever, they think they're related and they can't tell the difference. Well, I know I'm related to all my cousins, but I can still tell them apart. So being related doesn't mean can't be differentiated. So I don't understand that one either. Birds create on the 5th day and birds and reptiles on the 6th. Well, what about flying reptiles that aren't birds, like a pterodactylus or pteranodon? Would those be made on the 5th day? And either way, they're still made as reptiles. If
That's a pretty good question. You think Kent's ever going to answer it?
Yeah.
Like, huh. And what
What is
about
a pteranodon? Is that a bird? Is that a dinosaur? If it's a dinosaur, when was it created? Because it doesn't creep along the ground.
When were flying snakes made? Were they made with all the other snakes? Or were they made with the birds, Kent?
What about flying fish?
Oh, that's even worse. Also, I'll be right back. I'm going to go turn the lights on because it's getting darker out.
It is indeed. We're so close to the solstice up here in the north. It's just getting dark out now, and as much as I love the nighttime, it's fucking amazing. I love it.
the creation
Agreed.
story is
Sorry.
it's true. So this isn't about when things were made. It's not even about kinds. And as far as evolutionists, using the word in quotes, think a 20-ton animal turned into a bird? No, actually, the current consensus is that we have actual fossil evidence that there have always been small to medium-sized theropods, and that it was one of the smaller theropods that turned into a bird, whereas other medium-sized theropods became larger and eventually gave rise to larger theropods. So it's not at all true to say that anything 20-ton is hypothesized as the non-bird ancestor of birds. I think that covers everything you said. So if you want to go with more rebuttals or rebut that, go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Not a single error for that entire rebuttal. Bravo,
Yeah,
Dapper.
that was quick.
Bravo. Yeah.
I need
You
to
said you
consume
started off
alcohol.
that your reason for believing what you believe is based on anatomy, that there are similar structures.
No, that there are identical structures that meet the taxonomic criteria for
You
being
think-
a dinosaur.
Are you think this? Are
Wait,
you telling
is
the
this
people
a
listening here that
rebuttal?
the structure?
Dapper gave his rebuttal, and I'm not sure what Kent is doing now. It's Kent's
Well-
channel. It's his own format.
Yeah, he said if you want to rebut that or you want to do something else, go for it. And it appears Kent has opted for the open discussion phase of debates.
Why wouldn't you take a rebuttal when you've got access? Like, that seems weird. Like, a rebuttal is a completely unchallenged refutation of somebody else's ideas. It seems weird that you would go, no, I'll skip my rebuttal.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think he'd take any chance he could to preach. It really is weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not really preach. You've got to remain on the subjects that they have brought up. Like, so in formal debate, you can't introduce new subjects in the rebuttal phase. That's the thing. Like, you have
in a
to
formal debate, but this is Kent.
Right. Yeah. I'm just saying that it kind of looks bad if you're bringing up stuff in a rebuttal that hasn't been brought up in their introduction, kind of thing. It looks weird. It looks very, very strange. So, but that's not to say you shouldn't do a rebuttal. You definitely should do it. Anyway, it's just weird. That's all.
And again, I totally agree. But it's also
I mean,
Kent.
obviously Dapper's taking notes. You can tell, right? You can absolutely tell he's taking notes. Kent isn't.
Nope.
Kent has a script memorized. What would he need notes for?
Yeah.
Structures in the bird skull are identical. Your word, identical, to the structures in the dinosaur skull. Is that what you just said?
Well, let me perhaps clarify. What I mean is that there are certain anatomical characteristics for any group which define that group, right? And within that, the exact structure can vary a bit, right? So for instance, mammals all have a joint for the jaw and the cranium between the squamosal bone of the cranium and the dentary bone of the jaw. Exactly where that sits on the skull and exactly how big it is will change. But from a taxonomic standpoint, that's an identical characteristic. And the word identical is perhaps not the right word to use. But because birds share these characteristics in the same way all mammals share this particular jaw joint, that means that they meet, and a whole host of other anatomical features, they meet the taxonomic definition for dinosaur, just like they meet the taxonomic definition for vertebrate, which is animals with a backbone. I don't think you would argue that birds aren't vertebrates, would you?
I would agree they're vertebrate based on our
Well,
current classification system.
Right.
Sure.
Well, in the same way, they're dinosaurs. They have the anatomy that is required to be a dinosaur.
So the car has the same frame as a pickup truck.
And we have our
Damn it,
first
Kent.
of the our first comparison to non.
I'm gonna need another coffee. Like seriously, see if
Biological.
Lynn can make me a coffee.
It's almost break time.
Yeah, we'll have a break in
Oof.
3 or 4 minutes.
Cars don't produce offspring, Kent. Kent, you can't compare organisms and like mechanical contraptions. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Therefore, the car is a pickup truck because they both have a frame.
Well, they're both automobiles.
Is a car a pickup truck?
Boom. They both
They're
fall
both-
into the larger
Well,
category
if-
of automobiles.
If both of them has the classifications of, in order to be a automobile, they need wheels, they need an engine, they need if they have all the classifications for that, then yes, that's what they are. That's how the sort of law of identity works. So if dinosaurs have all the classifications that we would give to birds, or sorry, rather the other way around, if birds have all the classifications we would give for dinosaurs, then birds are dinosaurs. That's just how logic works.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Pickup truck? Or can you distinguish between a car and a pickup truck, or do you need help on that?
No, I think
Can you distinguish between these things or not?
Well, it's all taxonomy, but that makes me think of one time when I was in Iowa. In fact, I stopped at the Iowa 80, world's largest truck stop, and the truck museum was actually open, and they have trucks, big trucks, small trucks, all kinds of trucks, and they go all the way back in time, all the way back to the International Harvester pickup, which was a car. They were the same thing, except instead of having the trunk, there was a flat bed area. They were the same vehicle all the way back then. So they have a common ancestor, and they've descended in different lines.
Yeah. Dude, so you're saying even Kent's own analogy kind of bites him in the ass?
Mm-hmm.
Huh, weird. Never would have expected that.
Right?
Well, I think, given that I drive both, I think I can figure out the difference.
Okay. So the fact that there are some similarities in the structure might prove that's a common design structure that works well and came from a pretty smart fellow who decided they need a frame.
Error and common designer.
Okay.
So all your arguments for these similar structures are just exactly proof of a designer. God made everything. And because all we observe is, see, you're relying on fossils that are found. Keep in mind, fossils don't have children.
Fossils don't have children.
Fuck a sake. We know they fucking do, because sometimes we find the nests with the eggs and shit in them. Now, those particular children didn't live, but they did have children, and there's a very high probability that they had other children before then.
We even have found like them giving birth at the time. Like, I just.
Or when Mary Schweitzer analyzed the proteins from a T-Rex, she found it had medullary tissue, meaning it was pregnant, or at least in breeding season at the time it died.
It's true, Mama. I've been jealous of Kent's amazing shirt since he came on screen. I was like, man, where does Kent get a shirt that awesome?
Okay, now yes and no, Big Man Mama, because I have my own collection of Great Vacation shirts. I am sad that they are on him. I'm not jealous that he has them.
And also it makes me want lobster.
Though that said,
Lobster.
it is 9 o'clock, at least for me. We are on the 2-hour mark, so sorry, I muted myself mid-sentence.
A little too soon there.
Since we've all been drinking, feel free to go take a bio break, everyone. Reconvene in 2-ish.
All right. Doc, do you have, on this version of StreamYard, do you have, like, the sample musics?
Maybe?
It'd be in the, I think, the brand section all the way at the
yes,
bottom.
I do.
Yeah, if you want to just click loop and then put one of those on, then there'll be, something for people to listen to while we're away.
Sure. You have a recommendation?
I think off the
I like
top of my
rock
head.
music.
Yeah, they're all kind of mellow.
Yeah, this is fine.
Alrighty, cool. Back in a few, folks.
Yep, see you soon. Oh, hey, right on time. The doctor's in. And I don't think it's copyrighted John Rapp, or
No, I don't,
I don't
think
know,
so.
maybe it is.
I wouldn't have it up if it was.
Yeah. Also been reading back in chat. I did not know you were a geologist, Big Bad Mama. Nice to find another one out there. Oh well, how's everyone feeling so far?
I'm good. I'm good.
It's good. Beamsy, how you holding up?
Not sure everybody's back yet.
Ah, true. Ah, an ember is alive. That's good to hear. Was afraid we'd find him in a shallow ditch behind Dinosaur Adventureland.
Seems unlikely. I mean, I've met Cindy. She's very, very nice. She's a very nice person.
Well, Cindy seems to be, but Kent not so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't really had any personal interactions with Kent, but certainly the things that he says are completely wrong.
Yeah. Based on what I know of the guy, and this is my opinion, I would not be surprised if there was someone buried out there. And this is my opinion.
Oh, look, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know.
It's the pond. The bodies go in the pond, not in a ditch.
All right. Well, BMZ is choosing to stay quiet for a little bit, and that is just fine. I think we can probably continue. Oh, if just a second. Sorry, just had to take care of something. But looks like we can probably get back to going. Beamsy's gonna hop out for now.
Night, Beamsy.
Night, Beamsy.
Alrighty. And here we go.
You cannot prove those fossils had any children that lived, and certainly you couldn't prove that fossils had children that lived that were different. And I would point out that this is relying on something
We
in the
already
past that we
drank
really
from
cannot
that.
document. Observable science shows us birds produce birds, the same variety of birds. Oh,
We did not drink for that. Bought us an extra 3 seconds.
over and over and over again. There are simply no exceptions. So if you choose to believe, capital B, believe, that birds and dinosaurs are related to each other because of similar structure, you're completely missing the point. The similar structures is
Also, I feel like it's important to point out this is a Dapper slide, not a Kent slide right now.
Mm-hmm.
proof. The same guy designed them all, and it works really well. We all have to live in similar environments. We have to handle the gap.
And there's another drink. Same guy designed them all.
Gases in the atmosphere, the oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, etc. So the animals have to breathe in and separate the oxygen, so they would probably have similar structure. Do you think dinosaurs had a sac-type lung, like birds breathe in and have multiple sacs coming off of their lung? Did a dinosaur have the same kind of lung as a bird?
Dapper already addressed that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it goes to show Kent wasn't really listening, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Shock.
Type lung, like birds breathe in and have multiple sacs coming off of their lung. Did a dinosaur have the same kind of lung as a bird?
Not only did they, but crocodilians, who are also archosaurs, have a reduced form of the same type of lung.
Okay.
So this
Good.
type of respiration is part of the category of archosaur. Now, here's the thing, Kent. I'm not here to argue for evolution. That's a separate question.
I'm not here to argue for evolution. Sorry, I had to have that as a drink trigger for something Dapper did, just so we'd have something for Dapper.
Yeah, that's fair, I suppose.
If you want to go with all
Well, because if they were all Kent, it'd be predictable.
of these animals were designed by God, for the purposes of this particular discussion, that's fine. I'm here because on several occasions I've heard you say things to the effect that believing that birds are dinosaurs is insane or stupid. And in fact, I believe at one point, referencing this very debate, you said there are some kinds of stupid you just can't fix.
I agree. I stand by my previous statement. It is
Also, the girlfriend who's cooking dinner in the background, so we're warning people there might be a little bit of background noise.
exactly correct. Go ahead.
Fair enough. But one other thing you brought up here was, what can we tell from fossils? Well, we can tell more than just that they died. We can tell they lived. We can tell the features of their anatomy. Is it a vertebrate? Is it a dinosaur? Is it a mammal? Is it a frog? We can tell that it had parents like itself. So we know that there was a population of such creatures. We can be pretty well sure that whatever fossil we find wasn't something that simply existed in isolation and never had any parents. And so because we can tell these things, we can tell what taxonomic categories. So let me ask a question. Do you think that bird is a real category? Is there something that actually unites all birds?
I guess you'd have to define the word category. Carolus Linnaeus divided things up, with kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. The Bible simply divides them up according to their kind. I'm not sure that the Bible kind classification fits our modern Carolus Linnaeus classification. It may in some cases be at the species levels, other places might be at the family level. I don't think God cares. I don't think God cares what Carolus Linnaeus thought. God made up his first and said they'll bring forth after their kind. So
Yeah, so the Linnaean system is kind of it's kind of a remnant of a system that we don't really use anymore. We use cladistics, and we try to sort of the Linnaean sort of characteristics are more or less kind of arbitrary. We say, hey, it cuts off here because the spectrum of one to the other. Sometimes there's so many fossil evidences of one changing into another that we can't really have any definitive place where we can go, hey, that's when it stops being a dinosaur and becomes being a bird. We're like going, well, where are we going to put this designator kind of thing? They're so similar.
Yeah, what Linnaeus did was try and fit an absolutely messy web of life into neat, simple categories. And go figure, when you try to do that, it doesn't work out so well.
Yeah, it was a
yeah.
worthy effort. The same as the
It was
early
a
periodic
worthy effort,
tables.
especially for the time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, it definitely was a step in the right direction, saying, "Hey, we
Yes.
can classify these things by the sort of homologous, the traits that they have." But yeah, when we actually understand it, it's like, well, they're kind of just they're placed in sections in kind of an arbitrary way.
They are to a degree. Our modern system is a
degree,
little or is different from Linnaeus's system, and it's less arbitrary and more based on
Yeah,
anatomy
yeah.
and ancestry.
And
But
genetics as well.
it will always have to be arbitrary to some extent because it's humans or human constructs that are creating the categories.
Mm-hmm.
Description rather than prescription. It's same problem with everything.
Yeah.
Like physics is what comes most naturally to me. Stars, we've got the main sequence, and then we've got the outliers and whatnot. But where you put the cutoff lines, no matter where you put them, there's going to be exceptions and anomalies and all kinds of things that make you go curses and pull all your hair out.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the problem with sort of the kind structure versus species, because they'll say, hey, you guys, like, so today you have a problem with kinds, what fits in one may not fit in another, and there's sort of demarcation problems, as we call them. So where these things cut off, and that's exactly the word I was trying to think of, demarcation, right? So where we actually separate them. When you say, hey, you have the same problem for species, it's like, yes, and that's what we would expect. If everything is related, then we would expect to see problems with cutting it off, because then everything is on a spectrum. The problem is when you say, hey, they were created separately as kinds, then why are we getting the spectrum across the two? Why is there such a problem separating these, like birds and dinosaurs, for instance? Why is there such a problem?
Yeah, to use his pickup truck versus car thing, even if there is a common designer, there's still a clear-cut difference between varieties.
Right.
And we don't see that in organisms.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Like, the really tough thing is biology is just a weird collection of spectrums. Because we're humans, we try to fit them all in boxes.
Yep.
We just have to categorize things. It's tough.
I think
What
birds
we
are
do.
birds and they're bird kind, and I think a 5-year-old can tell you it's a bird.
Okay, so do you think
5-year-old can tell you it's a bird.
Mm-hmm. But if you show a 5-year-old a skeleton of a bird and a dinosaur, let them try and figure out which one's the bird then.
Yeah. Yeah. Show them a Microraptor, a crow, and a Velociraptor, and ask them to... No, a Microraptor, a crow, and a T-Rex, and ask them which one is the odd one out.
do you think that I heard you in other debates say that you think that maybe God created some 50 or so kinds of birds in the beginning. Is that something that you does that seem reasonable still?
A pure guess on my part. But yeah, let's start with number 50. Sure.
Okay, so you don't think that God created one pair or group of identical birds that then later diversified into all modern birds, including ostriches and finches and hummingbirds?
No. I don't think ostriches and finches are related in their common ancestor. We have emus here. They are very different than ostriches, even though they're an awfully big bird. They have 3 toes instead of 2, like the ostrich. They have a totally different feather. So I think the same designer designed them.
That's an error. They do not have completely different kinds of feathers.
Nope.
They have the same kinds of feathers. They are just slightly different. And also a Kentism. So that's 2 drinks.
They're a different color.
True.
Hey, who told Blessed what our secret group name is?
We did.
Oh,
Was it on Mark's stream the other day?
we're bad at this.
No, I think you're mistaken. We're so good at this. It's a circular thing. We're so bad it turns into good. It's how we fool
we came all the
people
way
and
around.
win.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the horseshoe theory of being terrible.
Ooh, actually. Yeah, Big Bad Mama, I can get behind that. I can totally get behind that.
Hell yeah.
Maybe wait until Kent dies, though, so he doesn't get any more money.
Also, hell yeah.
And don't even know what they're talking about? Well, blessed be he, based on what I've seen of you in other chats. we know more than you do.
That's all. Just like coming from the hand of General Motors, there's all kinds of cars that have a lot of similarity.
Comparison to a non-biological object.
In fact, the car thing itself should be a Kent cliche.
True.
But the thing is that other people use it. Donnie uses it.
Because he talks to Kent all the time.
I know, but it's such a bad argument because cars aren't breeding and producing smaller cars with the same DNA. It's so silly.
Yeah, I'm just going to put this up here from Titan. Thank you, sir. We assume a lot less than Kent, and most of the assumptions we make are based on tangible evidence, unlike most of Kent's assumptions.
No, we don't actually assume a lot. We don't actually assume much at all. We
don't assume a lot.
Here's the thing. Like, what we're seeing is that I don't think that you get, like, if you didn't have the Bible as your sort of starting point and that embedded in your mind as it has to be this way, I can't see you coming to the conclusions of the Bible by just looking at the data. You have to have the Bible up front. And that's your choice. If you want to do that, that's your choice. But I just see it as an unnecessary thing that we're going, hey, where does his evidence lead? And you're saying it must lead to the Bible. It has to.
Yeah.
So who's making assumptions?
And keep in mind, when I'm saying we make assumptions, they're usually very, very, very small assumptions. An assumption isn't even the right word. Sorry, I'm drunk. It's hypothesis, not assumption.
Yeah, we try to keep
look at the evidence
minimal.
we have and draw a conclusion based on that.
But the
biggest
thing is we're willing to be wrong. If
we're
evidence
trying
shows
to be
we're
wrong.
mistaken, we change our understanding. We adapt to the new information. Whereas a creationist perspective has to ignore or outright lie because the information conflicts with the pre-existing belief.
It's not just that. We're trying to be wrong. So the difference between a hypothesis, and this is really important, the difference between a hypothesis and an assumption is a hypothesis is a question that you then try and falsify. You try and make it not work, right? So we're trying to be wrong when we make this assumption, which is actually a hypothesis. We say, if there is a link between birds and if there is not a link between birds if there's a link between birds and dinosaurs, we should see these things. And then we try to go out and find things to disprove that. Like what he was talking about with the clavicle of the birds and the dinosaurs having the same thing. We try to find exceptions to that fall into it. And guess what? We don't. That's the whole point. But an assumption is where you say, okay, I'm going to assume this thing is correct. And it is just correct from then onwards. That's an assumption. Two totally different things. Oh, Tim, you better stop, man. You're getting on.
It's a little late.
Yeah.
I just realized I was muted. Yeah, Tim's been banned.
F in chat for Tim.
Not really. Thanks for trying to warn me earlier, Mark and Titan.
Hey, I'm doing a bit.
I needed to see myself before banning. And I did, so he's banned.
Yeah. It's all good. For anybody who was wondering about Tim's question, though, before it got axed, from a scientific perspective, I absolutely could be mistaken about trans identities. I'm open to that. But as a trans person, I'm as confident about the reality of trans identities as a cis person is about their own identity, because we know what we are.
That's fair.
Yeah. And from what I've heard, that's true for essentially most trans people. There's a minuscule minority who don't feel the same way, but it is a minuscule minority of an already existing small minority. So that should probably say something.
It's true. And, humans are humans. There's going to be confusion. There's going to be messiness. We don't categorize easily, just like any other living thing.
Yep. Life is messy, and it will be messy as long as there is life.
Similarities. it's coming from the same mind.
Okay. So, but even the Bible that you said you read referenced the birds of the air, right? Is that what I believe was the actual quote? Was birds of the air?
There is a phrase, birds of the air. There are also obviously birds that run on the ground, like penguins and ostrich and emus. But go ahead.
So
Well,
it seems like both you and the Bible.
What was
I
that?
like birds of the sea.
They more swim. Look, penguins fly underwater. Don't hassle penguins. All right,
Absolutely.
penguins are off limits.
True.
They fly underwater. How awesome is that?
Yeah, it's really cool to see. And seals do as well. So we have another group of flying mammals.
Bible, and I would agree that whether or not they're all related, there is this distinct group of animals called birds, and they all have something in common, right?
Our router reset itself. He said, "Now, your question. Don't you think complex?"
Yeah, a little bit of a cut.
Oh,
there.
okay. Kent has technical problems. Drink.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I wish I had a bingo card. Can we make a Kent bingo card? Like Kent has technical problems. Kent says you've never seen an X come from an X. You know, like a non-X come from an X.
And
Kent wears a Hawaiian shirt. That's a gimme. You know, I'm sure we could do this. I mean, we could have some ones that don't occur that often, like Kent has a micro stroke or something, you know, and things like that.
Kent brings out SpongeBob. It's frequent, but it's not every time.
I mean, look, Mark, I like the idea, but we'd probably just wind up with full red squares by the end.
Well,
Well,
that's
yeah.
the point. It's bingo. What are you talking about? That's the whole point.
So, wait,
Also,
what's the maximum number of
Crocoduck
bingos
on the
we have?
screen.
Hovingo.
But what is the maximum numbers of bingo you can get on a 3x3 square?
3x3.
Why would it be
You-
3x3?
You need 5x5
Because that's like
for
the
a bingo.
smallest most people use. Well, yeah, 5.
Yeah,
yes.
why would we use the smallest? I thought the smallest was 5
Let's
by
see, that's
5.
5, 10.
Good night, Big Bed
Would
Mama.
it be 12? 12 possible bingos?
5.
Because 5
well,
across, 5 down, and 2 across. Or 2 diagonal.
Well, there's also the special ones. Like you can get the T shape, which is like an extra bingo. And although
It
technically
is.
that's included with the other 12, the getting both diagonals to create the X, that's another thing. There's another way to with a box all the way around. These extra ones get you bigger prizes though when you're at a bingo hall or some shit.
I've never played bingo in public, so I never knew that. Also, good night, Big Bad Mama, and
Good night, Big
Missing
Bad Mama.
Mod. Have a good night.
Yeah, good night, Missing Mod. Are you two hooking up? Is that what's happening? I bet you're hooking up. This is what's going on.
And blessed be he. Come on, calm down, man. We're here to have fun.
Just chill. Just chill,
just
man.
have a
Like,
few
seriously.
drinks and laugh
Yeah,
along.
yeah.
Okay?
There's a fucking crocoduck on Kent's screen. How is this not hilarious?
Yeah. And it's not even a king.
Complex things like computers, which are nothing compared to a bird, should fix themselves automatically.
And there's a Kent as a man in error. Kent, why would a less complex thing have the same abilities as a more complex thing? Just
And I
But
don't
by
think
definition,
abilities.
shouldn't. like auto repair is a pretty complicated ability.
Anyway, go ahead, Timothy. You're in the middle of a thought here, and we lost you.
Oh yeah. So what I was trying to
Oh yeah, we also have 2 new counters on the bottom of the screen because I decided, you know what, I might as well just put those on screen. We're up to about 7 non-biologic objects for Kent, and 3 I'm not arguing for evolutions for Dapper.
was trying to get at is whether or not these different groups of birds are special creations. It seems like both you and I and the Bible agree that they're all a group called birds, and that's a real thing. There's a real commonality. God didn't design a cat with feathers that's like a half cat, half bird.
Ooh, that'd
Okay.
be cool though.
All I am arguing is that if special creation is true, or if
Kent doesn't realize he's muted.
Wait.
Huh?
Wouldn't a catbird be an owl?
Maybe? Or would it be a griffin?
Griffin? Hippogriff?
Well, hippogriff is like half horse, half eagle. Isn't it?
The Harry Potter ones
Passport,
are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also just hippo in the name meaning horse. That's what I'm going off of.
or if evolution is true, there's an even larger category called dinosaur that many more animals than birds fit in, but that so do birds. That's all I'm arguing. And my evidence for that is the same as the evidence that all birds are in this group, which is they share certain characteristics. They all have feathers, they all have beaks, they all have a picostyle, they all have fused metatarsal bones. All of these are things that make a bird, whether or not they're related. Well, similarly, an anterorbital fenestra, a temporal fenestrae, a crocodile reverse ankle, an open acetabulum, all of those things make them dinosaurs.
No, all of those things make them similar in some ways. I'd say there are probably a lot of similarities between airplanes and cars, and that some, especially small planes.
And there's another non-biologic objects. And a not arguing for evolution that I forgot to tally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would say I'm bad at this, but we're already over 100.
All planes have internal combustion piston-driven engines, and so do most cars on the road. That doesn't prove any that they're evolving from each other. It's a design that works. Internal combustion piston-driven, driving a crankshaft, turning a crankshaft. It works. Overhead valves. It's a system that works, and so they've used it in a variety of applications: single cylinder, twin cylinder, three cylinder, etc. Because it works. So I think the designer who created all these different animals, his name is God, and wrote a book about it, by the way, called the Bible. He
Wrote a book about it. So that's a Kentism and an error counter, because God did not write the Bible. Nor did he create anything.
used the same similar design for many creatures because it's necessary. A system of extracting the oxygen from the air. Well, the lungs do that. Okay. And that's a pretty cool system. Plants have a very different one. They have to extract the carbon dioxide from the air. They don't want the oxygen, they want the CO2. So God designed them to extract CO2. So the fact that there are similarities, which you're pointing out, you're completely missing the point. That doesn't prove any common ancestor. I mentioned that no fossil would count as evidence for evolution because you can't prove it had any children. Your response was that we believe if you find a fossil, you know it had parents.
Sorry, I was typing there. We got like another 3 or 4 drinks. Kent's a treasure, ain't he?
He's great for the alcohol industry.
Yeah.
I'm doing the bingo right now. Hey, like I just can't stay away from it.
Parents like itself. Timothy.
So far, I've got Kent says an X has never produced a non-X. Kent compares organism to automobile. Kent builds a straw man. Kent mispronounces common scientific term. Kent brings up the Bible. Kent complains about Darwin. What else we got?
Do you
Kent
have
misunderstands microevolution?
Science? Like, just, well, I guess that could just be the free thing in the middle.
What's that?
Kent misrepresents science.
No, that's the Hawaiian shirt one. Is the freebie in the middle?
Fair.
Okay. Oh boy. I mean, if you have it done by the end of the stream, I'd be happy to show it.
Okay. How about Kent refers to national pornographic?
Yeah, I'd say that.
Leave it with me. I'm going to work on it. Leave it with me.
Had parents like itself. It's going to have babies like itself also. Every farmer on the planet will tell you animals produce.
Every farmer on the planet.
Yeah, and you know, I don't farm anymore, but I grew up on a farm, and I will be the first to tell you Kent is full of shit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Produce babies like themselves. Cows produce cows, dogs produce dogs. But if you stand a T-Rex or any kind of dinosaur next to any kind,
you know, it's funny. My grandpa is about the same age as Kent, and if anything, came from an even more backwards place, and yet he doesn't have any problem believing in evolution because it just makes sense with what he's seen in his life.
Yeah, farmers don't have because farmers know that when you want to breed crops to create certain attributes or livestock, whatever, it takes a couple of generations, but you can make them more like you want them to be. It's within your power through artificial selection. Every freaking farmer knows this. So, yeah, evolution is a thing that they practice in their daily lives.
Yeah, I mean, what was that experiment in Russia with foxes? How many generations did it take for them to be domesticated? Was it only 7?
Mm-hmm. NPR did a story on it. That's how I know about it.
Yeah, like, it's easy to do, Kent. It's really easy. You just have humans acting as the selective force.
any kind of bird, I think a 2-year-old can tell you which is which.
I think a 2-year-old could tell you which is which.
Between throwing his spaghetti at you and peeing on the floor.
Yeah, and that's also an error because my little sister can tell the difference. And that's another bottle down. Jesus. How many ounces are these things? They're like 8 ounces. That explains why I'm going through them so fast. They're smaller than they look.
Mine are 11.2 ounces. Why is it 11.2?
I don't even know what an ounce is. Like
Neither do I. So
like,
fair
seriously.
enough.
In metric. They might be measured. They might be standardized to metric.
I wish they were, because then I'd understand how fucking much shit I have.
There, fluid ounce to milliliter. 11.2. It's about 330 milliliters. Which, I mean, yeah, that's about a third of a liter.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, really easy.
So, yeah, by the time I finish number 3, I'll have had a liter. It's a nice round figure. I dig it.
Nice. Like, why you guys can't just get on board with the metric system is totally beyond me.
I've been saying for 40 fucking years.
I want to a lot. His fire and faith can move mountains.
Why would he
so can
move a mountain,
dynamite.
though? He went to all the trouble to put them where they are.
Yeah. I mean, dynamite can also move mountains, man. It's not that much of an achievement anymore.
Which is dinosaur, which is bird. For you to imagine that they're somehow related to a common ancestor is wild SpongeBob stuff imagination. It's not
SpongeBob!
wild SpongeBob stuff
Oh,
imagination.
SpongeBob! How did I forget that one?
You brought it up earlier. Did you just not write it down?
Shit.
Science, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, so as far as it's just
And Dapper has a slide for it. He knew it was coming.
SpongeBob imagination goes, none of the anatomical features I've mentioned are imaginary. And the anatomical definition of dinosaur also isn't imaginary. And since these are the only things I've used to support my argument, I haven't used any idea of cladograms. I haven't used any evolutionary processes. All I've used is 1, the anatomical definition of dinosaur, and 2, the anatomical features of birds. None of this is imagination. And I'm a little concerned because I've said probably 8 or 9 times now that I don't care whether or not birds are related by common ancestry or whether or not they're related to other.
I'm not arguing for evolution. Counter up to 9.
It's also impressive that offhand he knew he'd said it roughly 8 times.
Yeah. Bravo, sir. Bravo. And yeah, also just, man, Kent, you really are pathetic. Like, genuinely pathetic.
To other dinosaurs. That's not what I'm here for.
It'd be sad if he wasn't such a prick.
I'm here to say there's a definition for dinosaur. Dinosaurs are archosaurs with, among other things, an open acetabulum. They have an elongate deltopectoral crest on the humerus, extensively perforated acetabulum or open acetabulum, arched dorsal margin of the ilium, a femoral head turned and distinctly offset from the shaft, asymmetric fourth trochanter, an astragalus with acute anterior medial corner. All of these things are what makes a dinosaur, and several others. And all of those things are present in birds. So just like whales are mammals, because they have hair, they give milk, they have a dentary squamosal jaw joint, they're warm-blooded. Because of all these things, whales are mammals. In the same way, birds are dinosaurs, even though birds are unusual when we think of the whole group of dinosaurs. Just like whales are unusual when we think of the whole group of mammals, because not many mammals look like whales.
Okay, well, if you're going to, I guess you're trying to draw a circle to include birds and dinosaurs, and I guess I can understand that could be done if you could put all living things into one circle and say, well, mosquitoes and dinosaurs and birds and tomatoes all fit in that circle of living things. Sure.
Hey, he's getting it.
That's a concentric circles of any classification system. We have transportation devices.
You think?
Gee whiz, that's a big circle.
God damn it.
So close. So close.
Kent.
Well, that includes skateboards all the way to jet planes.
Okay.
Prove they're related? No, we're drawing our circle too big.
But I'm not trying to prove that they're related here.
Okay, so you're wanting to include dinosaurs in with the bird category because they're both living things.
Other way around.
Okay, you want to include birds in with the dinosaur category.
Right.
Because they're both living things. In that case, you would be correct.
Right.
They both have internal skeletons.
Yep.
You'd be correct. They both reproduce.
Well, that would already be all living things, so we've already covered that one.
Well, they reproduce with eggs. How's that? That narrows it down. Not all living things reproduce with eggs that lay an egg. Some have, a live birth. Humans, for example, or monkeys. That's a different type. They don't have an egg.
I wouldn't use that to
We're
distinguish them,
getting close to
but I
that,
would say
Kevin.
maybe hard-shelled eggs.
Okay. So do all dinosaurs have hard-shelled eggs? Is that what you're saying?
All dinosaur eggs that we have found have been hard-shelled. I guess I can't say with 100% certainty that there isn't some dinosaur out there that had a soft-shelled egg, but if there is, we haven't found that egg. So currently, all evidence points to dinosaurs having laid hard-shelled eggs.
Okay, so if we classify all things that are capable of moving, if we draw a circle that includes all things capable of moving, well, that would be a pretty big circle. And so you're determined to put birds and dinosaurs in the same circle. Okay.
Well, that is a big circle. It's called Eubetazoa, and it includes pretty much every animal that isn't a sponge.
Sure. And they're capable of they're eukaryotes. They have an internal nucleus surrounded by a nuclear membrane.
Right, but that's an even bigger symbol.
Right. But somehow you guys want to use these circles because we can put mosquitoes and whales in the same circle. They both move.
Okay.
That doesn't prove any relationship. This isn't any evidence of evolution.
I'm not arguing for evolution right now. Well, I do argue.
So that's 3
Yay!
drinks.
Not arguing for evolution. Yay!
3 drinks, people. Man, I'm on my last bottle before I got to go make another spicy Mary.
I'm on my last bottle before I have to go figure out something else. I have a really, really old bottle of wine in the kitchen, but it's really old, so I don't know if that's a good idea.
Ooh. I mean, wouldn't that just mean it's more potent?
Well, normally yes, but here's the thing. I opened it 2 years ago, so it's not
no.
like it's just been preserved. It probably
Yeah, that
shouldn't
sounds
still
like
be
a
in the kitchen.
biohazard.
Yes, precisely.
Oh, boy. Well, the question is, would that or one of Kent's seminars be more toxic?
Do argue for evolution at other times. Don't get me wrong. I do fully argue for evolution at times. But what I am saying is this circle for dinosaurs is a real thing. There is a group of animals that belong in this circle, and they don't belong in any other circle adjacent to it. And inside that circle of dinosaurs is another smaller circle, and it's called aves, and it's all of the birds. And this isn't some hypothesis. This is simply a fact of anatomy. Just like it's a fact of anatomy that, say, deer and goats are both cloven-hooved animals that chew the cud. That's not a question that we have to ask. And so when you say things like it's insane to believe that birds are dinosaurs, what you're saying is it is insane to take seriously the anatomical evidence that we have of birds that puts them inside the circle of dinosaurs. But that's just to say that believing reality is insane.
No. Reality is. I love reality. That's great. I wish the evolutionists could get a dose of it once in a while. Birds.
Kentism.
Has he ever lived in... Okay, in fairness, what he calls reality may have a different definition than what the rest of us use.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Oh, and Lorraine, my spicy Bloody Mary uses Fireball, so it's a little different than most, but still pretty good, honestly. Oh, and yeah, Titan has an opinion on that wine bottle.
Yeah, Titan is almost definitely correct.
Yeah. Also, that is true, but we do have fossilized snake, lizard, and crocodilian eggs, which are all soft-shelled. Actually, the other day I found out we actually might have a huge mosasaur egg that was preserved,
Ooh.
which is really freaking cool. For those who don't know, mosasaurs are, picture a giant Komodo dragon the size of a whale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we
Birds
do
produce
get,
birds. Reptiles produce
Oh,
reptiles.
go ahead.
we do get soft things preserved occasionally. It's rarer, but
Yes.
they're jellyfish fossils.
Yeah, true.
Jellyfish are all squish.
There's
Mostly
jellyfish,
cast
there's
fossils,
squid,
though.
there's all kinds of stuff. We just got to get lucky.
Yeah.
And what do you know? We have 4.5 billion years to get lucky. So we've
Giggity.
been lucky a few times.
Reptiles, lizards produce lizards. There are no exceptions. So if you're trying to draw a circle big enough to include birds in with the category of dinosaurs, I suppose we could do that with
I forgot to Kentism there. There is no exceptions. They all produce whatever.
drawing a circle and calling the circle all living things,
Right.
or all things that breathe oxygen, or all things that reproduce.
Right. And if you said that birds aren't living things and to believe so is insane, I would also disagree with you. Because we can draw that circle. That's a fine circle to draw. Life is a thing. All living things have certain similarities that they don't have to non-living things.
Sure.
Okay. So we draw that circle. This is what taxonomy is, whether or not evolution is true. All living things are more similar to each other than they are to any non-living thing. Would you agree?
Yeah, taxonomy, they've argued this for centuries, trying things change classification all the time based on nutrients. When they first found the platypus, it confused everybody. What on earth is this thing anyway? They tried to tear the beak off. They thought somebody sewed it on there.
Okay.
But they're really what is the platypus in the same group with dinosaurs?
No, platypus is in the mammal group because it has hair, it is warm-blooded, it has a dentary squamosal jaw joint, and it gives milk. Those are the things that make a mammal a mammal.
There you go.
At least if we take only modern animals into account.
Okay, so our modern classification system would not put the platypus in with the birds or dinosaurs, and you're trying to put the birds in with the dinosaurs because of the similarities that you mentioned in the first half of this discussion.
Yes, because those are the similarities that make a dinosaur what a dinosaur is. So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell if it's a
Okay, I'm going to slow it down to 1.0 speed here. And I want people to listen to what Dapper says here. Because if you have seen this debate, you know what's coming.
Oh no!
And what comes next is for you.
Does
So,
he do the rap?
Just sit back and enjoy.
Similarities that you mentioned in the first half of this discussion.
Yes, because those are the similarities that make a dinosaur what a dinosaur is. So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell if it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Dr. Dino.
Interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Yeah, for people who aren't familiar, Kent calls himself Dr. Dino. He's been Dr. Dino for 4 decades.
Yes.
And he doesn't know how to identify a dinosaur. The following is
I've
what
got
happens
that-
to crits. Oh, go ahead.
I've got that in my thing. It's like Kent says he's not prepared for a certain science. Would that fall under that bingo card thing?
That's a good idea.
It could, but I don't know. I don't know if that comes up often enough to merit.
But Kent admitting he doesn't know what makes a dinosaur, I feel like does the following to his credibility.
So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell if it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
And no, I don't care if this is copyrighted or not. It's too good.
You're not monetized anyway.
Nope.
So I wouldn't worry too much.
So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell if it's a dinosaur?
Oh no! You're killing all those organisms.
All those organisms.
How will that Jeep truck wagon ever produce offspring now? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dino.
But you're right. He's Dr. Dino. So to be doctor of dineology that he obviously is, he should be able to know what criteria we have for like recognizing a dinosaur bone. Holy crap.
Yeah, and if anyone's curious, that took me like 4 hours to learn how to piece together. That is
Was it worth it?
technically the first meme-ish thing I've ever edited.
You've been hanging out with B.S. Lewis too much.
Actually, I've been watching a lot of Maxor, which might be a bit worse.
the word dinosaur literally means terrible lizard.
Right.
I don't know why you're trying to say dinosaurs are not lizards when that's what the word means.
It's because they thought they were lizards and they're not lizards. That's the thing. Like, they called them something before they know what they actually were. That's a genetic fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
That
Also not
is
true.
so much of a genetic fallacy. You could frame it in like Stanford philosophy as the genetic fallacy.
It is also not true. When dinosaurs were first discovered, one of the big things people quoted on was how similar they were to birds. But one of the predominant anatomists of the time, Richard Owen, was a rabid creationist who didn't like that very much. So he bullied everyone else into saying,
Yes.
no, these are just big lizards. And
Richard
that stuck
Owens-
for decades.
Well, Richard Owens is a really interesting character because he was a bully and really, really mean to people and attacked them for work that he disagreed with, kind of thing. Like, really, really obnoxious kind of person. But he is the reason why the public can go to museums. I joke you not. He actually went, well, we could make money out of museums if we charged the public, because it used to be that only academics and scholars could go to museums and see what's in them. He actually came up with the idea of charging people to come in to museums. So he's the reason why we have public museums.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll be damned. That's one thing capitalism actually made better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's strange. It's kind of this, some dude wanted to make money off of it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the man did do some good things, of course. Like I said, he was a very well known and very well educated anatomist who came up with who noticed a lot of very good things that we still make use of today. But as a dinosaur myself, I can't help but feel peeved at that. Just a little, at some stuff he did, just a little bit.
And he was constantly in a fight with Darwin, wasn't he? Like, he was one of the major opponents to Darwin. He absolutely loathed him, attacked him on all fronts, kind of thing. He was really a nasty piece of work.
Yeah,
Tweeted at him
and
in the
then
middle
a
of the night.
statue of Darwin got put up in the middle of the museum he established.
Yep.
So I guess we know who won at the end. Who won in the end? Oh, plus, like, the old saga with Archaeopteryx is Darwin predicted Archaeopteryx would exist, and then a headless specimen was found, and Owen said, well, this is definitely a bird, and it cannot have teeth. It must have a beak. And Darwin said, no, based on everything else, it probably had teeth.
Yep.
A couple of years later, we found a specimen with a head, and what do you know? It had teeth. And Owen proceeded to shut up and act like he never said anything.
Oh, I can explain natural selection, Blessed, although I think you're just sort of trolling the chat at the moment. But yeah, I can explain natural selection. I can explain genetic drift. I can explain punctuated equilibrium. I can explain a lot of things.
Yeah, we know a lot about how life works, even if life is pretty messy. It's only a mystery if you have your head stuck in the ground. Excuse me.
Yeah, because you don't want to know how it works. Because if it works, your book might be wrong. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Speaking of being stuck in place.
What is the difference then in your thinking between a dinosaur and a lizard?
So there are a number of differences. One is that lizards have pleurodont teeth, if I'm remembering the word correctly, which means their teeth grow out of a groove that goes around the jaw. Dinosaurs, like all archosaurs, have thecodont teeth, which means the teeth come in a socket. Another important difference is that lizards have closed one of their temporal foramen, whereas dinosaurs have not. Lizards have a
wait. Oh, let me get you to clarify that. Did you say the lizard closed off this part of the brain?
No, it's a part of the skull.
Okay, so the lizard decided to close off that part of the skull? Is that what you said?
They closed during embryonic development.
So the lizard's not doing this.
So you're saying it decided to do this? Also, just picking at a tiny bit of what he said instead of addressing the actual point. Nice, Kent.
It's designed to do this during embryonic development, right?
Well, the lizard is doing it, whether or not it's by design, it's still doing it. Just like when it grows a tail according to the genetic code that tells it to do so.
So does the lizard have an option to decide not to grow the tail if it wants?
No, not a
or
conscious
just
option.
It's what now?
It's not a conscious option. There's no choice made by the lizard.
Right, like the caterpillar.
Why
doesn't have
would
to-
I want the conscious option to grow a tail or not.
what?
Yeah.
Well, genetics has come far, Ember. You might have that choice some point in the future. Tiktaalik is.
I have
like,
a better one though. Can I have another thumb on this side so I can like grab even better? Like instead of using my pinky, I can. Never mind.
You know, your ancestors had 6 or even 7 fingers at one point.
Neat.
Also, Tiktaalik is not a crocoduck. Tiktaalik was a prediction made by what we know about both geology, paleontology, and biology. And it came true in a beautiful fashion.
Ooh, what
And
about
also-
what about
so-
another set of
sorry.
eyeballs that can see into the ultraviolet?
That'd be nice. But also, insulting Neil Shubin. Sorry, ban. Sorry. Neil Shubin's
Yeah.
a great guy. He is not a scam artist. Get out.
You come into my house.
Okay, but seriously, Neil Shubin is a really nice guy, and he's really cool. No insult Shubin.
decide
Why
to
don't they
butterfly-
just say whether they're bird kind instead of lizard kind? Well, it's because they want to make because if you admit that dinosaurs can have enough evolution to change into birds, then how can you possibly say that apes don't have enough evolution to turn into humans?
Yeah,
Like
it
the
gives away the
difference
whole game.
between them. Right, the difference between those two things, there's way less change involved in an ape becoming a human than there is a dinosaur or a reptilian becoming a bird.
Agreed. And just one last thing about Neil Shubin. Though to a lesser degree than Mary Schweitzer, I feel like his and his colleagues' discovery of Tiktaalik was another one of those, if I can call them, Mary Schweitzer moments. Because what he discovered was a really, really big scientific discovery in an era when that was becoming exceedingly rare. And it really helped fill in a crucial gap in our understanding of evolution.
Aha, but you prove my
Lions
point,
had already
sir.
reprogrammed it.
Oh, damn you.
It's going to become a butterfly.
Well, it's definitely pre-programmed that the only thing it can become is a butterfly or a moth, I guess, depending on which caterpillar it is.
Right.
Excuse me. I don't know exactly what triggers that transformation. There could be some kind of neurological activity that does it, in which case we could then argue about whether or not animals make choices. But I'll just say no.
So did the dinosaurs decide to change to birds, or you're saying that we could put them in the same circle? I would agree. We could put them in the circle of living
Decide?
things that move. Or
What are you talking about? Did they decide to change to bird? This is as bad as
That's-
some of the creationists that's like, who made you decide to become a human? And it's like, are you serious? What are
Yeah,
you
man, Powell
talking
does that
about?
all the time. But I'd
Yeah.
say it does count as a Kentism because he's done it freaking 3 times so far.
Mm-hmm. What are you saying? You're saying Kent's repeating himself on a stupid point he's already been proven wrong on? What?
or things that blood. Sure, there's all kinds of circles we could put it in, but I think you're trying to imply that there also is a relationship, as in evolutionary relationship, which is not true. Everything you've proven is that you can draw a circle.
So we both agree that we can draw circles around living things in sequentially smaller categories. Okay. Do you think that some circles that we could draw would be wrong?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it depends on what you label the circle, I guess.
So let's say I want to draw a circle.
Sorry, what are those arrows in his presentation pointing to? What are those pointing to?
Clavicle bones, maybe?
Not sure.
Are they just moved over weirdly?
Don't know.
What's going on, Kent? Is your presentation having a stroke?
Draw a circle just around frogs and dogs. and call them the cat or the frog dog circle. Would that be a wrong circle to draw? Would you say no? There are things that are you should separate these into separate circles
Well,
because they're so different.
It depends on what you're going to title your circle. If the title of your circle is living things, then sure, frogs and dogs could go in the same circle. No problem.
This is a circle that only includes frogs and it only includes dogs. Everything else is outside the circle. Would that be a wrong circle to draw?
I think that'd be a wrong circle to draw. Just like your circle with, if you only want birds and dinosaurs in the circle, you got a wrong circle.
Okay, so all I'm arguing is that circle actually is a valid circle, and what these circles are called in the scientific literature would be a taxon, right?
Sure.
So a taxon is defined by certain anatomical category or features. So the taxon of vertebrata means that you have to have vertebrae. You have to be a vertebrate to be in it. Right. And anything else,
Gatekeeping.
right. So dinosaurs, mammals.
Look, some kinds of gatekeeping is okay, okay? Some kinds.
Frogs, fish, okay. So the circle that defines dinosauria, right? The things you have to have are the temporal fenestrae I mentioned, the antorbital fenestra I mentioned, the ankle joint that I mentioned, the hip structure I mentioned, the particular formation.
Just look at him zooming through his slides. Like, it's really...
He knows where
it's
every
so
freaking one
irritating.
is.
Yeah.
It's the one thing he does know.
Yeah, and it's just so irritating because what I see him doing here is just trying to distract the audience with a big flashy thing on the screen. Like, that's what I think he's doing, whether he means to or not.
Formation of the fourth trochanter on the femur that I mentioned, the thecodont teeth. That's how you tell an animal is a dinosaur. So if you find a skeleton, and we want to...
Also, Kent has a really bad resolution right now. That's not my stream, that's his.
Mm-hmm.
It's so pixelated, he looks like a weird old movie character.
say, oh, is this the skeleton of a dinosaur? That's what we look at. So for instance, if you find a femur, big old femur in the ground, it could be a woolly mammoth femur, it could be a dinosaur femur, it could be a whole host of things, right? Well, if you know about taxonomy, you can look at it and say, okay, does this femur have a asymmetric fourth trochanter or no fourth trochanter at all? And if it does, well, it's a dinosaur femur. And now we know that's the femur of a dinosaur. But the thing is, if you find a vulture femur on the ground or an ostrich femur on the ground, you're also going to find a asymmetrical fourth trochanter.
Could there be another reason for that? Like maybe it needs to retract the femur. Obviously, the trochanter is where the muscle attaches to pull on the bone.
Right.
Weightlifters who work out a lot, that gets larger.
Well, why
And
don't-
that will retract the femur.
That's an error. Humans do not have a fourth trochanter.
I've finished the bingo cards, by the way. Just let you know.
Oh boy, we'll pop them at the end of the video.
Okay. Okay.
Femur.
Do you know
That's
what muscle
capital running.
Do you know what this muscle is that it attaches to?
I couldn't hear you. What now?
Oh, the muscle that the fourth trochanter attaches to is the caudofemoralis longus. You don't have one of those.
Okay.
So it's not like that's the only way to make an animal run. And interestingly, all of the animals that have a fourth trochanter and therefore a caudofemoralis longus muscle all also share other traits that make them all archosaurs, like thecodont teeth, the fenestrated skull in a particular way. It seems like they probably also share, all of them, this unidirectional respiratory system like a bird has. They also all share four-chambered hearts. I don't know if you know, but crocodiles have four-chambered hearts. They don't use one of the chambers, but they have it.
Did dinosaurs have a four-chambered heart?
Well, there was a report of a preserved ornithischian heart, and I believe that there is still a debate going on about that. But if it is in fact a heart, it does look like a four-chambered heart. So
Yeah, unfortunately, more recent research has shown that it is probably not a heart, which is sad.
Although,
But we still think that if dinosaurs did have a four-chambered heart, just because of
Yes.
the amount of pressure that you would need to push blood up the neck of, say, the brachiosaur that it's showing there, you would need the pressure from a four-chambered heart to do so. Like,
Yep.
it's very unlikely for the reptilian sort of heart to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's part of it. Part of it is also, like Dapper said, crocodilians have four-chambered hearts, and so do birds. And those are the only real comparisons we have to dinosaurs. So, as far as we can tell, they had to have had four-chambered hearts.
But we don't know for sure because we haven't found dinosaur hearts. So
We can't say for certain,
well,
but
what,
it is more than likely than not.
what if we ever get around to actually cloning one? Then we could, both taste the T-Rex, and then when we're done, we can examine all the giblets and things and be like, oh, look, it was a four-chambered heart. What do you know?
I wish
I
we
wouldn't
could.
mind eating a T-Rex heart just for the sheer macho-ness of it. Like,
That'd be the profile
Kill two
picture till
birds
the end of time. Mark
kill
with a
two
frickin'
birds
T-Rex
with
heart.
one
Arr.
stone. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
So
But would that take it out of the reptile category then?
no, because the reptile category is basically, essentially, it's synonymous with diapsa, which is all those animals with those 2 holes in the back of their head that, or not their head, but their skull, that are used for jaw attachment or jaw muscle attachment.
Right.
So that's the category of reptilia. Some of them have 3 hearts. Or sorry, it's not 3 hearts, it's 3-chambered hearts.
Right.
None of them have 3 hearts. I'm sorry. Some of them have 4-chambered hearts. Sorry, that was, I don't know how that happened.
That would have been an error, but he corrected himself.
Yeah.
No,
Although
that's fair. You
three hearts-
misspeak occasionally.
3
that's
hearts
fine.
would be cool.
Yeah.
And it's cute how Dapper's rattling off all these technical names, and Kent's just going, right, as if he understood any of it.
And he's looking around like a kid in the middle of a science class who doesn't understand a damn thing the teacher's saying.
Maybe you're misunderstanding my motive and goal in this. Here's a textbook from
Your motive and goal in this is to make money. Thank you. Welcome, or thank you
Probably.
for coming to my TED Talk.
I might
shuffle
be-
here somewhere. The biology textbooks do teach birds are the descendants of dinosaurs. This is very different than saying you can draw a circle around the 2 because they both have similar structures. This is literally saying that birds are descendants of dinosaurs. I think this is stupid. I think this is wrong. I think this is criminal to teach this to kids when
Well,
Kent
fucking
is,
prove it then, jackass.
Mhm.
Yeah. Also, yeah, real nice of you to call other people criminals.
Right?
Well, and plus, like, how you feel about it has nothing to do with whether it's true or not. That's the thing. Like, you can feel however you want about it, Ken. You can feel that it's criminal and it's wrong and all this. Unless you can demonstrate that is the case, you're just basically doing old man yells at cloud, essentially.
Yeah. Except right now it's old man yells at a dapper dinosaur.
Right, but this is a tactic of Kent's, right? So notice that Dapper's got him in the corner, right? He's got him to sort of, this is how we're designating these things. This is how we do it. So instead, what he's doing is he's going to drop something that's, he's basically flaming, right? He's dropping something that's incendiary to try and get you off of the topic that you're talking about, which is how we designate reptiles, birds, and dinosaurs, and get you onto, well, no, evolution is a science. It is, it's perfectly true. And then you're off on another topic. He's very clever in doing this. He sort of really pushes people's buttons when he's cornered to get them off of the subject and onto something that's completely irrelevant. And I want to see what Dapper does to it, kind of thing.
Yeah. If I recall correctly, I think he does fall for it a little, sadly. But to be fair, I think this was one of the first debates Dapper ever did.
when it's not scientifically provable. All we ever birds probably had. If you find
Not provable, and another thing. Yeah.
So that's his technique. It's to make you go, no, wait, it is provable, and then you're off of the topic that you've got him on. So the correct response in order to this is not like, no, like you can feel however you want. Let's go back to the thing that we were talking about. You're not getting away from it. Mm-hmm. That is the correct response here.
Yeah, I don't care if they evolved or not. They still belong in the same category.
if you find bird skeleton, you could, like you said, it proves it had parents like itself, which were bird.
He acknowledges it's true.
What?
Now, how is he going to twist this to say Dapper's wrong?
But if birds are descendants from dinosaurs, then somewhere along the line, somebody had a baby that did not turn out like itself.
And there we go.
Wow.
I mean, like the way I like to equate this is if you go in, say, and whatever drawing app you have on your computer, most people have one, and you draw a circle. It looks like a circle when you're all zoomed out, but if you zoom in really, really far, you can see it's made up of a bunch of little straight lines all put together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an illusion of being round. That's what we have when we have, say, Archaeopteryx and then a chicken. It's probably not the actual line of descent, but whatever. But if you zoom in, you'll see every single one of those tiny straight lines. The parent and child look essentially the same. The change is just so gradual, you don't realize it's changed until you're at the end.
the best one to use is language, like the Romance languages. Like French and Italian
True.
came from Latin, right? They both came from Latin. Now, you're basically saying, well, look, you look really closely at French speakers and they always give birth to French speakers. But if you go back and you're saying that if they came from Latin, then a Latin speaker would have to give birth to a French speaker. No, that's not how that works. The language evolves. So basically, tiny word changes over time from being separated in language, and one develops a different language than the other. When they
that is a pretty good analogy,
initially are
right?
split up, they're speaking the same language, or they've got the same genetic sequence. Then one goes one way. Yeah, it's sort of. I think that's the best analogy, because the idea that because the languages are different from Latin to French, a Latin speaker had to give birth to a French person is quite frankly ludicrous.
Yeah, you're right, and that is a really good example. I've heard it before, though. I wanted to try a different one, but might not have been as clear.
This is not observable. This is not science. This is religion. You guys have a religion. You believe birds are descendants of dinosaurs. That's not science.
Yeah, I think that's 2 or 3 Kentisms and an error.
Yeah, at least 2.
At least 2. That's a goal.
That's my objection.
Well, I have two I suppose, counters here. One is, if in fact the category of dinosaur is a valid category and birds fit inside of it, then all birds are descended from dinosaurs simply because all.
And I remember Logic tearing apart Kent's videos and just, I hate this drawing so much.
Mm-hmm.
Logic really tears it apart, but it's just awful.
All birds are dinosaurs. Just like I'm descended from vertebrates. My parents were vertebrates. Whether or not they're related to other vertebrates that aren't human.
Also, what's with the D and the Y?
Dragonfly, dragon and dragonfly.
There's just a random D and a random Y.
Well, I think.
Well, you see a little
I think
piece of another letter next to the Y. He covered it over
Covered it
because he
up.
doesn't know how to mask or do transparent files. He's still working in Paintbrush, so he had to create a white background and put his thing on it, and then just dropped it on the image.
So I think what it is he's got like a, A is for apple kind of book, like D is for dragon and dragonfly kind of thing is probably what it says, and he's
could be
sort of slap that evolutionary fairy tales over the top of it. I think Kent he seems to get diagrams and pictures not because they are accurate, but because he likes them. He just goes, "Hey, that would be great for me," and grabs that kind of thing. So, he really has no compunctions about using like incredibly inaccurate things to represent, straw men. Essentially, they're straw men. It's a straw man.
Yeah.
We don't think dragons even exist, much less are related to dragonflies like that.
Mm-hmm.
Silly, just silly.
Yeah. But whatever this poor creature is, it needs to go extinct soon. It's sad.
They're still vertebrates.
Kent
So I'm descended
as
from
a kid.
Huh?
I think it's Kent as a kid.
vertebrates. And the second,
Okay, hang on. Because you're a vertebrate and your parents were vertebrates, does that mean you are related to ducks, which are vertebrates?
not by itself, but it does mean I'm descended from vertebrates. So it is still correct, whether or not birds evolved from non-bird dinosaurs, to say that birds descended from dinosaurs. Now, I understand that your problem isn't simply saying that birds descended.
Yeah, that was another I'm not arguing for evolution counter. He didn't say it explicitly, but he essentially said it.
From dinosaurs, but that birds descended from non-bird dinosaurs. Is that accurate?
Well, nothing ever descends from anything other than its kind. The Bible says they'll bring
It's kind.
The Bible says
forth after its kind. Birds and dinosaurs are a different kind of animal. They have a lot of similarities because they have the same designer.
I agree, Dapper. The Bible is just SpongeBob imagination. Anyway,
That's not showing an evolutionary relationship.
Okay. And
Showing pretty guide behind them.
or okay, at least Kent's interpretations. Seeing it as a book of fables is fine because that's what it is.
Okay, so I'm going to make an analogy for evolution. Okay, imagine you had like Microsoft Word.
Yeah, he gets roped into it. Which, I mean, fair
Yep.
enough. Kent has
No,
been
no.
going after him for it for the entire debate.
Mhm.
But
Use Word, I assume.
Yes.
Okay. So let's say you type the letter A and save the file and send it to 2 people. Okay. And they each type one random letter, and then each of them send it off to 2 more people. Okay. So now we have, and let's say they do
oh, he's quoting Ellen Fiducia. Oh boy.
this 8 times. Okay. So now we have a whole bunch of these files with strings of letters, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, at any point, if all they did was type a new letter at the end, are any of these new files going to start with a letter other than A?
No, but I think you're missing the analogy here. Is it possible to type a series of letters that do not make a word?
Yes.
That doesn't matter.
It's not your
Why does that
analogy,
matter?
Kent.
Whether or not it makes a word doesn't matter, Kent.
What's a word? It's just something that we recognize as a word. Like, that's like saying, well, what is he going on about? I don't.
Yeah. It's like the fucking realisms that come up in philosophy all the time, like
Right.
mathematical realists. The numbers exist in some substructure, parallel dimension to the universe. No, we're discovering it. Like
We're making
the-
this shit up. Yeah.
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 The English language doesn't just exist and we're discovering it. We just decide we're gonna spell way this way and way that way, but they're different words, but they sound the same. We can see
So-
from the flaws in the design
Here,
that it's
real
not.
quick, I'll be back in about 30 seconds.
Okay.
So any combination of letters is a word. In fact, like he's talking about Microsoft Word, if you're talking programming, you have word size, which is just a size of characters, basically. Like words are just things that we've said, okay, in this pattern, in this order, we will give these definitional qualities to those things. So I don't understand what the hell he's on about, because there's like, if you're saying, hey, does typing it in make it into a word, or is it possible to type it in and not make a word? It's always going to mean make it a word. It just won't be a recognized word. Like, it won't be one that we say, hey, that is a word. But if you have snuffle, I can say, hey, that's a word. It means, someone who can wear a cap and look as good as Ember. That's
Hell
my
yeah.
definition of that. That is now a word, right? Like, words aren't actual things. They're just stuff we made up. Kent, why are you stupid?
Also, I agree with John Rapp. You are all great apes. And thank you for joining us this nice evening. Well, hopefully it's a nice evening. I don't know what weather's like in our audience parts of the world.
Well, it's still technically morning for Mark.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah, as Erica would say, gentle and very modern apes.
Huzzah.
Yeah.
All apes are very modern, though. Let's.
Well,
you know.
yeah, details.
Well, all modern apes are modern.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, all of current orangutans and chimpanzees, they're all modern apes. Like, everything's just as a. I hate it when people go, "Oh, you think you're more evolved," and it's like,
No.
you've misunderstood evolution completely.
Every living thing is just as evolved as every other living thing. They just go in different directions. Well, I'm sorry, Lorraine, I can't help you there, but you might want to lay off the silver dust.
Grape Ape
No,
was
it's a
cool
character
cartoon.
from some Olympics thing. I think it was Laffy Olympics or
Yeah.
something. And a Barbera cartoon, Grape Ape.
Yeah, it was like a ripoff of
okay,
King Kong, but it was great.
Yep.
Okay, I gotcha. But what's the condition where silver makes you turn purple?
I don't know the name of the condition. I know it's colloidal silver that does it. It's some kind of, it's related to photosensitivity.
Yeah. Oh, also, Titan wants to be called Grodd. Okay.
Right.
Sure. So just typing
What kind of baboon is Kent? Or is that too high of an ape for him? Or high of a monkey for him?
I kind of picture him as a chimpanzee because all he does is throw shit for fun.
A chimpanzee would make him too smart. I think he might be some type of lemur.
I kind of think of him as like those is it the marquee apes in India that steal people's possessions kind of thing.
Yeah, that was
You know the
good.
ones I mean, they take off with cameras and stuff.
Yeah, I know what you
Mhm.
mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah, they've actually had to make international law dealing with those little fuckers because many nations have copyright laws on any artistic work you
Yeah.
Oh, the
create,
camera?
including
Racist monkeys.
photographs.
Yeah, they are racist monkeys.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know if it was in India specifically, but a traveler got his camera taken, and then the monkey took a picture. And then he tried to publish it, and whoever was in charge of the monkeys or whatever was like, no, the monkey took the picture. He owns the copyright. And they had to go all the way to the world court because the copyright law conflicted with, like, you have to have personhood and have in order to have ownership of something, right?
Yes.
But since it was a monkey,
Oh,
I remember
boy.
reading about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's the reason why AI can't have like copyright over the art that it produces, because that law says you must be a person to have copyright. So a monkey is the reason why you can print out images on like, AI art generators without
But-
any copyright,
But
which
but
is
wait,
so strange.
what if you code an AI to create art? You wouldn't have copyright over the images
Nope.
the AI made?
Still
You-
can't. Still
you
can't.
own the AI, but whatever the AI
Yes.
produces, unless you directly guide it, like you use with Midjourney, you can use prompts.
Mhm.
You would have to do more than that. You would have to like specifically tell it what to draw, and then
Okay.
it's like a one remove kind of thing. Basically, you make
Okay.
the art yourself. You're just using the software to facilitate at that point.
Sure. Also,
And,
I knew
and
you
there was an incident in India where one of these racist monkeys stole some evidence and took off with it of a murder, and so the court had to be given a note that the evidence had been stolen by a monkey and was unavailable in court.
Oh, if I were the defense attorney, that would not stand. That would not be good.
No.
Ooh.
So yeah, I think he's a silver-haired grifter. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
It's a new ape type
I knew what you
discovered.
meant, Titan. If you didn't hear before, I knew what you meant. I mean, have you guys
Gorilla
ever
Grodd,
seen
yeah.
that? Have you ever seen that Batman anime?
Which one?
Like Batman and his villains get sent back to feudal Japan, and like they
Oh,
build
I
giant.
I saw
Yeah, I've
posters
heard of
for
Killer.
it.
It's not very good, but it's funny.
I think I saw Legos for it too.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know one of the dubs was actually really, really funny. It might have been the German one. I could be wrong though.
Random
Right, on
letters.
with the silver-haired
If
grifter.
by word we mean analogy would be something
4
that's able
minutes.
to live, is it possible to have a scrambling of the DNA and produce an offspring that is not capable of living because the gene code is too screwed up? Does that ever happen?
That's not
That happen?
all I'm talking about right
Yes, that has happened. We call those
Not a-
that can be the cause of stillbirths, Kent,
And they're not around anymore, Ken.
because they die.
This has been explained
Oh.
to him so many times.
Whoops! I accidentally closed the window.
You broke
He
it.
was so dishonest, the window
No.
decided to run away.
Oh man, I know we were at 50. Okay, it mostly saved it. Okay, that's good. Also, I have decided to go ahead and go on to my fireball. So hopefully, or at just another thing, a fireball. So hopefully hopefully it'll tide me over for the next 4 minutes.
You might make it.
Yes.
Sure. So if just typing random letters, if by word we mean analogy would be something that's able to live, is it possible to have a scrambling of the DNA and produce an offspring that is not capable of living because the gene code is too screwed up? Does that ever happen?
That's not
That happen?
all I'm talking about right now is why it is that evolution doesn't say anything about one kind becoming another kind. Because all that evolution is every time there's a new division between species, right? A new clade has formed. that's still a member of the previous clade. So every time you send off that letter and someone types a new letter at the end of it, that's two new clades being formed. But all the previous letters also indicate previous clades that that organism already belonged to. So if you find this file and it says ABCX, and you find another file that says ABDY, we know that they're both AB files. And they both descended from files that started with A, and they both descended from files that started with B. And there's another set of files that both start with A, but that their next letter is, say, Q. And so at no point do the previous letters get deleted, just like at no point do the previous clades get erased. So the first bird, if we could imagine such a thing, it would actually be a population that would later give rise to future birds.
And that's also a really good analogy. It's too bad it's wasted on Kent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was a bird, but it didn't stop being a dinosaur. It didn't stop being a theropod. It didn't stop being a coelurosaur. It didn't stop being a Maniraptoran.
Also, this has been bugging me. I think he has a shark jaw hanging from his TV.
Yeah, that's what that is. I've been
I'm
wondering
sure it's a
too. I'm
shark
like,
claw.
what's up with those
I did-
bones?
I didn't notice that, but it doesn't have the teeth on it. So I'm like,
It does. You can see it when this bar goes away. It has the teeth.
oh, okay.
Yeah, see him
At
down
no point does a new kind
Oh, yeah.
move away from the old kinds.
All right, Timothy, we're out of time here, but let me
there. Gonna guess it's like a bull shark. Just going by the size.
ask you a question. This first
Also, it'd fit Kent.
bird that you
it's
think
bull
did not stop
something.
being a dinosaur, but it now was a bird. Who did it marry?
The
God
fucking
damn it, Kent.
marriage thing.
He just
motherfucker.
said, think in populations. He just said that. Like 2 seconds ago, he said it was a population rather than an individual. Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's a Kentism.
Oh.
Well, that's sentimental.
Yep.
Well, like I said just now, the first bird in air quotes would actually be a population of birds that would later give rise to other birds.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying a whole bunch of them did this at once?
God damn it, Kent.
So I think he's just playing stupid here because he doesn't want to go down this line. He's just like, well, I don't understand. Poor Kent doesn't understand.
Yeah,
Like,
like
he
everything
does
else.
understand.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
has been
he's
explained
just
to him
pretending.
1,000 times.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Kent took my container. I agree. He should go back in his container. 10 more years. 10 more years.
So a population of dinosaurs.
But a whole population of birds came at once. Because don't the male birds have to have a female bird to to make babies?
Oh, yeah, that was also an error, so drink.
I got to fill up. Damn it.
We're almost done. We're almost done.
Yeah, too many mistakes.
So-
Holy crap.
I'm going to try and finish the thought. So
Okay.
when this happens, there would already be a host of various populations or species that are all to varying degrees bird-like. So just like
So a bunch of them did it at the same time in the same place, all right?
no.
No. What if one was in America, one was in
Let me try and finish the thought.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One of these would eventually become the ancestor population of all future birds.
One by itself, or two of them?
Well, even if it were two of them, those two would share a common ancestor that was itself the common ancestor of all future birds. So one population at some point of things that were already very bird-like.
Ah, that smile. That damn stupid smile.
I'm just like, this motherfucker still has teeth. There's no justice.
I mean, hey, it's Kent. They might be dentures.
Yeah.
He just would never admit it.
Became the ancestor of all birds, and that was the first population that we can call a bird. There are other things that would be living at the same time that would be almost indistinguishable from it, but because they did not give rise to the future diversity of birds, they're not technically birds according to the phylogenetics.
All right, now Timothy, we're out of time here. We got to quit, but I got lots of things going on here. Come on down and visit our Dinosaur Adventureland. So this
I tried actually. Last time I was in Alabama, but I was too far
Plugging
away and I
shit.
didn't have enough time.
Come on down. We'll save you a spot. So this first bird, I hope.
Kentism.
Well, I think that the best way to is again that language analogy. Like if you say, "Hey, the first French speaker," if there is such a thing, that split off from Latin, and we're going to call that the first French speaker. Well, who have they have talked to? It's like it's a population of people that split off and their language changed until they spoke French. They could speak to each other. You idiot.
Yeah. I mean, maybe another analogy could be like, and forgive me if my drunk brain can't process this correctly, but what about like a beach? Like if you're on a beach and you start walking towards the ocean, you're on all sand. But then you start stepping into the water. There's a little bit of water, but you're still standing on sand. And you keep going out farther and farther and farther. The water keeps getting deeper, but there's still sand until eventually you're just swimming and it's all water. It's just a slow, gradual gradient until eventually what you're left with is unrecognizable as where you started. Does that make sense at all?
It does. I don't think it would really get the point across to Kent, though.
Yeah, I
No,
don't
not to
think. I
Kent.
think. Well, I think that the problem with it doesn't have sort of generations kind of thing of change. It just has one person moving, so he doesn't seem to understand that it's a generational thing of changes. Yeah, it's not bad. It's just I think the language one is better because it's more analogous to evolution.
Yeah, it's more intuitive. People can instinctively understand. Well, of course, language has to be a population thing.
Let's see. How would Kent try to refute it?
Latin never actually existed, and God created all languages as they are today.
Oh yeah, that's
Tower
right. He
of
doesn't
Babel.
recognize the Catholic Church.
Tower of Babel made all languages.
Yeah, true.
The whole population of them came at the same time. Do you realize?
It always exists simultaneously with other members of the population.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would just like you to realize and try to understand one thought here on this.
Okay.
What you're saying is not science.
God damn it, Kent.
Yes. So he's trapped again, and this is what he does. So that's not science. That's just a religious belief. You don't know that for sure. You've got this, and this is the way that he sort of detracts from that. You've got him on the ropes because he is on the ropes.
Yep, he just starts making wrong assertions and shit. It's a thing to keep in mind.
Inflammatory assertions,
Well, anytime you debate Kent, always make him define science before you even start. So he can't go, it's not science. No, we define science at the beginning, fucker.
Well, science is derived from the Latin word "ser," and it refers to what we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate. Now, evolution is not science.
Too many Kent Hovind debates, quite frankly. Holy crap!
I have. He sucks.
Yes. Then again, one is
all
too
the
many.
same, so I could be quoting all of them or quoting just one, and it would be the same.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Titan, some species do self-fertilize. There's is it whiptail lizards in the South United States?
Yes.
They are entirely parthenogenic.
Mm-hmm.
It's an all-female species, but they still have to have a mating ritual to self-conceive. So it's a species of lesbians.
Well, you don't want to get rid of, evolution spent so much time making sex enjoyable so that we'd freaking do it.
Yeah, and also that would lead to problems because what sexual reproduction does and what it's good at is combining the beneficial genetic traits, or at least attempting to cover the weaknesses.
So yeah, disease resistance, because it mixes up the genetic
Exactly.
code. It's a lot harder for
Parthenogenic
diseases.
species are
Yeah.
are much more susceptible to disease.
Yeah, that's why we bothered to evolve nonsense switching of chromosomes and shit in the first place, because there are so many inefficiencies compared to simply budding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then again, some species do both. I'm pretty sure there are some sea slug species where if they can't find a mate in time, they'll just self-fertilize.
Coral reproduce by budding, by internal fertilization, by external fertilization. They're such weird animals.
Just cover all your bases.
Yeah, it depends on the circumstances in the season and all sorts of things like that. But apparently they have triggers. There's a species of coral off the coast of Florida that the first full moon after the summer solstice, they all just spit their gametes into the ocean. It creates a pink fucking lake in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
But they can see the moon, and the sun moves all the way up, and then the next full moon, bam, just baby coral freaking everywhere. And a fascinating thing about the baby coral is once an egg and a sperm fertilize, they do that, replicate multiple cells thing very quickly, and then they get like a little wormy dude that can swim. That is the only form of the coral's life cycle where they're actually mobile.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Lorraine, it's Mary that was pathogenic. It's Mary.
Yeah. Let's see. There's another weird kind of animal called a tunicate that's like that too. They have to sit still and filter feed. Also, I'm not going to read that out loud, but yes.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they do the other kind of thing too. It's just like they just spooge all over the ocean.
Yeah. Oh man, there's Rule 34 of that somewhere. Anyway, let's hopefully finish this up.
In order to troll this creationist, I once had to look up "sexy Jesus." It's hilarious. Like if ever you want to smile,
there's a lot of art out there.
I know, but it's actually hilarious.
Imagination. You think it happened. You hope it happened. You believe it happened.
Imagination.
That's a Kentism and an error.
It's not science. It's religion. I wish you could see that. You believe it. You believe it very strongly. And
I just
I'm proud of
counted
you. I
that
wish
as
I
a
had your
same
faith.
error.
I don't have. It's misplaced, Timothy. You need to put your faith in Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for you.
A few more
Prove
for
it.
preaching and being an ass.
Can't observe it. Can't test it. Can't demonstrate
And
it.
it's nothing to do with the debate.
Yep.
But the thing is, if you chase him down that rabbit hole and go, okay, well, do you have evidence of that? He will say, oh, this isn't about that kind of thing. It's so dishonest. The way that he brings up stuff, says it, and then when you try to refute it, he says, no, we're not talking about that. He just wants to be able to preach without being held accountable.
He loves to red herring. He literally baits and then reels in, and it's a way to burn his opponent's clock. It's dishonest in like every possible way.
I'm sure Beamsy would call him a masturbator.
Yeah.
No,
he's not here. I got to make those jokes.
Yeah.
I mean, does he come out looking good? No, he doesn't.
And wants to be your savior and wrote a book.
I mean, hey, it doesn't matter for his fanatics.
and you're calling him a liar. because
Jesus
said
didn't
the
write
creation
anything,
of
you
Adam was the
fucknut.
beginning.
No, I'm calling you
Well, like
a
I said,
liar, Ken.
I'm not.
Jesus didn't actually write Paul wrote most of the nonsense, and then the anonymous, not eyewitness motherfuckers wrote the rest of it. Jesus was long gone before anybody put pen to paper or quill to parchment, I suppose.
Because Jesus said the creation of Adam was the beginning.
Well, like I said, I'm not going to discuss my personal religious reviews on air.
Okay. Well, if you believe dinosaurs lived way millions of years before man, keep in mind you are calling Jesus a liar, which you're welcome to do. I think you'll regret that one day, but that is what you're doing.
The veiled threats come. Yeah.
And we've reached the end.
Isn't that always what happens though? Like when you can't get any further, you just have to bring out the threats, you know?
Yep. Well, it's a common thing with creationist debaters. They get into, especially Stuart Neckles got one coming up with Matt Delahunty, and he is definitely one. Is it Stuart? No, it's Cliff. It's the father,
Cliff.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And he's got a definite. He falls back on when he's pressed. He will fall back on preaching hard. And it's sort of it's always good feeling when people start to preach when you're in a debate with them, because it's like, you got nothing, do you? Like, you've got nothing else, and you're just, basically just making assertions and threatening people if they don't believe you. If you don't believe me, then you're going to find out just how right I am. It's like, wow, that is not like you are done.
Yeah.
If that ever happens to me in a debate, I'm just going to say thank you for conceding.
Yeah, basically, it happened to Hitchens one time. I forget he was talking to, but as you know, he went up against religious people all the time, and his opponent they went through the opening statements, and there was a lot of preaching in the Christian's opening statement, and then they got into rebuttals, and then immediately after the rebuttal, the Christian just went straight into a Jesus gave us the truth, all the rest of this is lies diatribe. And Hitchens let him go on for like 2 minutes and then finally said, I thank you for the sermon, but it's not Sunday. Can we maybe get back on topic?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that was a solid 3.5 hours of Kent being an idiot.
There you go. I just want to show you what I did in the meantime.
Yes.
Yeah, bingo card time.
There we go. So this is what
reveal. Okay, so Kent refers to evolutionary tree as lines on paper. Okay. Yeah, it's just a drawing. That's another common one.
Just lines on paper.
Kent compares organisms to automobiles. Kent confuses abiogenesis and evolution. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Kent didn't bring up Godwin's law this time.
Yeah.
Funny.
Kent argues on the... Oh yeah, red herrings. Yep. Kent needs time to investigate something. Kent clears his throat way too loudly. Godwin's law. Yep. Kent refers to SpongeBob, imagination. Kent makes a joke that only his audience laughs at. Kent misunderstands microevolution. That's so tiny.
Yeah, that's microevolution. Yeah, I don't know why.
Kent says a X has never produced a non-X. Kent asks Donnie to move to Q&A.
Yeah.
Kent says he loves science, just not evolution. Kent builds a straw man. Kent says that science changes all the time. Kent brings up children differentiating the 5-year-old thing, right?
Yeah.
Kent brings up the Bible. Kent complains about Darwin. Kent wears a Hawaiian shirt. Kent calls evolution a religion. Kent asks his audience a question. Kent mispronounces a common scientific term. Kent refers to National Pornographic. Kent has technical difficulties. And, bottom right, Kent says animals recognize their own kinds.
Yeah. That's a good first effort. While I'm doing a stream as well. Come on, give me some credit here.
Wait, pause.
Yeah.
Matt Powell or Raw Matt?
Or Matt Delahunty.
On this. Matt Delahunty wouldn't say this.
I know.
Completely match a human's fate. Was he talking about Paluxy River? maybe.
If he's talking, that might be next week's stream.
When was it? You said it was on Kent's channel, which is that stupid Genesis.
Yeah. Good work, Mark. This looks like a fun bingo card that we definitely play next time we do something about Hovind. Either Hovind, probably, since Eric just steals from his dad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, it's not like Kent's like really, original. He's just sort of stealing from somebody else.
Yeah, true.
Matt, hey?
Yeah, Eric's been evolving his presentation. Like, it's still clearly based on
Oh,
his
yeah,
dad's.
it's Matt Powell. It's Matt Powell.
Oh,
It's definitely Matt Powell. Yeah. Apparently, Matt Powell's broadcasting from a sauna, it looks like. I don't...
Fucking great.
What? Why?
Hey! Look,
Genesis?
if you want to broadcast from a sauna, that's entirely up to you. I'm not one to judge, but when I say it, I mean it.
Jeez. Yeah, it's just like, this. Yeah, okay, we'll see about this next week.
I got that, John Rapp. I got that. That's the Kent compares organism to automobiles. Yep.
Could you send me the
Got
link to that on Discord, Mark?
Sure.
Thank you.
I just used this little thing. We can use another one. I'm not entirely impressed with this one, to be honest with you. It's kind of a bit. I think it only have 30 people and stuff. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Dr. Dino one. What? This program that I'm using online, it just isn't that impressive.
I mean, it's just, a quick off the Google kind of thing, yes?
Yeah.
Or unless you had dedicated bingo card making software.
Okay.
Who would have dedicated bingo?
It's
I don't know what your
It's
extracurricular
gotta be
hobbies
out
are.
Probably. But yeah, I don't have access to it, so I'm certainly not paying for that.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, I'll look around. I've saved all of the categories, so I'll look around and see what else we can do and find. Should be a good time if we want to play bingo at the next one. Sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for coming to this stream, everyone. It's been a pleasure having all of you. Thank you very much, Beamsy, Mark, and Ember, for all joining me this week. Next
Always
week,
an adventure.
maybe we get to tear apart a bit of Kent Jr. here.
Yeah, and I've got a new channel starting up that I do have to plug. If
Please
that's
do
okay
chill.
with you.
Please do chill.
I now have Beast of the Mark. It's great that I'm sharing my screen as well.
Yeah.
Very
Which is
handy.
going to be no subscribers whatsoever. It's brand fresh and new. It's going to
All
be
of you,
my
go subscribe. I'm doing it now.
Well, it's going to be my gaming channel. So we're going to be playing Ark Survival Evolved with dinosaurs because we all love dinosaurs. And that is tomorrow night is the first one. So that will be going up as soon as possible. It's just got to wait 24 hours to like live stream, which
To
is
activate
weird.
the live streams, yeah.
Right. So it's kind of annoying, but that will be going up as soon as possible. So yeah, if you do like gaming and like the interactions between us evolutionists, we are going to be having some fun and just joking around and less serious stuff. It's sort of in where I used to do aimbot. Like I just want something a bit less serious from time to time. Like, instead of arguing and watching people murder evolutionary theory. I'm really looking forward to it.
Regen Dinosaur.
Also, your channel is so new it won't pop up in the search engine for me. Would you mind?
Oh
putting
yeah,
the
you have to
it
type the whole thing in youtube.com/@symbol Beast of the Mark. Yeah, I had the same problem when my channel was brand
Just
new
starting
until just now.
I just threw a link in the
show
chat
up
for everybody. So
yeah. But good news for new channels. Starting in the next couple of weeks, YouTube is changing the rules to join partner status. Now it will be 500 subscribers and 3,000 hours of watch time. That doesn't unlock
Ooh.
everything, but it will give
Right.
you like super chats and stream forwards and things. And then the rest of the stuff you'll get at the normal 1,000 and 4,000 mark. But
Mm.
but yeah, you'll be able to do some stuff much, much, much sooner.
Yeah, that's definitely good news for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on my normal channel, the day after that, I've got the debate with David McQueen, which should be interesting.
Yes.
And then I'm interviewing Hussein, who's done a couple of debates on modern day debate. And I've talked to him before, and he's really good to talk to. So he's an Islamic guy. Who's nice to talk to, and I enjoy talking to him. Next week, on my Sunday or Saturday night, we have Eastern time. We've got the debate dissection on my channel with the marvelous and wonderful Ember, and you're welcome as well, Dr. Dino, if you've got it free.
Oh, thank you.
And then on Monday night Eastern time, I've got an interview with Sunflower.
Fun.
Yeah, that should be
Good.
interesting because hopefully I can talk to Sunflower and have a good conversation with him instead of sort of it being. Because usually he comes into Amy's and it's just a mess. Like there's tons of people there and it's all very, so yeah.
It'll be an
But
adventure.
things are happening, peeps. Things
Yeah.
are happening.
And thank you, Molasses, but I have the link. I'm going to be looking through that whole thing, seeing what we can get from it. It's already only a half hour long, so I might not even have to edit it.
Interesting.
But maybe there's
I'm sure
a way
I'll hate
to
it
avoid giving them a view.
just as
We'll
much.
see.
Oh, look, Matt Powell is like one of the biggest tools I've ever seen. Like seriously, like
Yes,
what is wrong
as
with
Mark
that guy?
showed on a recent stream on his channel.
Dude, like seriously, like I there's very few people I would be that harsh with, kind of thing. I'm not even that harsh with Kent Hovind, but Matt Powell, he is a gigantic, colossal tool of a person, like just obscenely so. And I usually aren't that
I am
harsh.
certain is in it for the money. Powell, I think, is just an idiot. A useful idiot for Kent to tow around.
If you
In my
type in
opinion.
on your YouTube search bar, if you type in Matt Powell is a giant tool, Mark's video comes up first. And then Matt Powell's page.
Now that's advertising.
Oh, I love it. That's the algorithm at work, people. That's the algorithm at work. I love every second.
John, that is too accurate, John.
Yeah.
Mark, please try not to have an aneurysm with that guy.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't want to be mean to the old bloke, but still, irrelevant things are irrelevant, so, yeah.
I mean, you were egging Grayson on to be more mean.
Yeah, I wasn't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that he does it on purpose. He does that to just wind the clock down, and he talks as slowly as possible. And I'm not a slow talker. I'm not a slow conversationalist. It's probably going to be horrendous for me, but I know what I was signing up for, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're all much more conscious of time and things, whereas the people who've been around a while, they need to stretch things out a little, and
But at the same time, I've met plenty of fast-talking old people. McQueen's just slow.
Yeah, it happens. Now, as for me, right now, I've only got 2 videos scheduled for this week because I've been doing way too many damn live streams lately. Wednesday,
That's not bad.
Wednesday, I've got a new Ray Comfort coming out. That should be neat, and that'll be right before I'll be over on Aaron's channel for Blasphemer's Bible. And then on Saturday, this week's science is a physicist dude, Gerald Schroeder, Gerald Schroeder, is going to tell us how not only does science prove God, but science has already proven God, and somehow we all missed the memo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that should be fun. And then we've got the usual array of live streams. On Friday, I've got Nara coming on to do biblical slavery. We've got like 4 different videos to go through to really dig deep into that topic. And then on Sunday, right after Aaron Ra's Joseph Smith, Aaron will be coming over for this week's Atheist Lives.
Yeah. So definitely a couple streams I'm definitely going to have to watch.
Yeah, fun times.
Yeah. Are you going to be simulcasting the McQueen debate to your channel, Mark?
Probably not. I usually just, post it up.
Is it
later
on Standing for Truth or?
Yeah, it's Standing for Truth.
Well, in that case, everyone here, please do come along to help root for Mark among the sea of people who will be there.
I usually pay no attention to chat at all, to be honest with you, kind of thing. It's more or less pointless over there because people get so mad at me, and it's like, wow.
But that's like superpowers, though. It's like, haha. It's almost like being a troll, except you're not actually trolling.
Yeah, kind of. Like I'm just being sincere, and they're like, "Oh, how dare you! You're just trying to do this, that, and like cause our God to be." And it's just like, wow, it doesn't.
Look at how much of a smug asshole he is when you're trying to explain things as calmly as possible.
What a prick! Yeah.
The audacity.
Oh boy.
The audacity to be invited to debate and actually come along and actually do it. Like, how dare you? Oh, it's all good. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. But yeah, if you want to come along, sure, I'd love to have you there. That'd be fantastic. But if you don't want to, like a lot of people say, yeah, I'm not going on Donnie's. Totally understand completely. I will post it up on my channel as soon as possible, as per usual. So don't worry about that.
I tried to have fun arguing with Sea Science in the chat last time.
Oh yeah, I blocked him ages ago. Yeah, he's a lost cause, that one.
But weren't you saying something earlier about him giving up on the creationism? Or was that someone else? Before we started the stream.
Somebody said something about how he's going in a different direction, but I'm not sure what that means.
Well, that could be better or worse, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Hopefully it can become another Bubbles.
Oh.
Freaking
One
Bubbles.
is enough. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
We don't need a second Bubbles.
Thank you for the timestamp, Molossus.
Thanks, Noah. And what have you got coming up?
We are nearing up. What have I got?
Yeah.
Well, my little sister requested a Dino bite on Spinosaurus, so I'll probably get that out this week.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Also,
I like these little bites. They're nifty.
Yeah. I'm also debating on what to do for my next actual video.
Well, you got tomorrow night. You've got Arc with me, so that's one thing. Yeah. So don't forget to promote that.
Yeah, but like I want to do another educational video. You know.
Okay.
I'm just not certain on a topic yet.
Okay.
Maybe
I'm sure it'll come.
Dinosaurs or something. We'll see.
Post a poll in your community tab.
True, I can do that. But my community isn't really big enough to have many results.
Still, as long as you get some results, it'll still give you something to do, right?
Yeah, I'm showing you with 43 subs right now. So, if you get a dozen votes, that'll help.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Let's see. Anything else we got to do, or you all done?
Have you set up a Patreon yet? If you have, plug it. If not, get on it.
Not yet.
Have you guys got?
Kind of been debating.
Have you? What, sir?
I've been debating starting a Patreon. I'm not sure.
I haven't started a Patreon. That's the thing. I just haven't.
Like I don't want to seem like greedy, but being compensated for the time I put into this would be kind of nice.
Well,
it also helps build community. Like you can offer. Granted, it takes a little bit of extra work to provide perks on a separate platform than YouTube, but the people will engage with you there in a different way than you could get on YouTube. So, I mean, my
True.
Patreon isn't huge. I have 6 members at the moment, but they leave comments or like, hey, you could try doing this, or I really like how you did this, in a way that they wouldn't normally do on YouTube because those are public comments, you know?
True. That's fair. Maybe I'll do that this week. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm,
Okay, just
no rush.
one
You can
more
do it whenever
thing.
the hell you want.
Make sure you guys have water when you go to bed tonight.
Yeah.
Drink lots of water. Okay. And yeah, I hope you've had a good night. I've had a great time.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Definitely a fun time. And hey,
Yeah.
my alcohol actually held out barely, but we made it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Don't forget to hit a like. Hey, everyone should hydrate. Actually, everybody hydrates. Why not?
Yeah, that's
not?
normally Kata's line, but Kata had to leave already.
Yeah. All right. Well then, everyone have a great night. Like Mark said, be sure to hydrate before bed or before continuing with your day. Oh, wait a second. Fossilized raindrops. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Sorry, at any rate. Yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.
Bye, everybody.
Like and subscribe.